shining like a beacon of bright stars. I was alive for 105 until I found the lighthouse guiding me out the when I'm scared, I send a flare and you're here in a flash. When I ask, oh dear love, where did we come from? You say the light is on. I had the will and mission, but the wrong position. I was open, praying for a sign, until I found a lighthouse in your heart, shining like a beacon of bright stars. I was alive for 105 until I found the lighthouse guiding me out the dark. You guided me out the dark. Just break my heart.
Welcome to the LXC.
Neon lights flash, glow in the virtual battlefield. Sentinel, lead, let's go. Platinum dreams revealed. Climbing high, we'll soar on the rift of endless mind. Strategies we explore through the endless fight. Sentinel lead.
The scatter wall. Limestone flashes away, but it gets outplayed by the Syndra ultimate. In comes the slicing maelstrom from Uba, but Trash Panda with the flash away. The Seraphine ultimate, though, with that extra bit of CC is enough for Tyler to secure the kill. But Jure now so strong, so big on this bear is going to be able to trade back for the Nocturne. Now Uba going down solo as the front line are the ones who are able to get it done. Wall Street teleporting back into the play, lands the scatter onto Pradles. It's going to be 4 for 2 in the fight. The Plasma Wolves secure another objective. Plasma Wolves just want to be pushing down mid lane. Kind of tough to siege without the Baron buff. I mean, Pradles has got plenty of wave clear on this brand. We've got the top laners split pushing on opposite sides of the map right now. It's actually an amazing scat. Oh my god! I guess we just land a scatter and win the game. Okay.
Yeah, the Syndra is beyond online, especially with Drew, but you just want to fight this horn right now. Open.
Oh, the engage comes out. Jury gonna be able to flash over the wall, finds Pradles with the ultimate, and there are those kills going. Pretty much already gone. We got a teleport coming in, but immediately Uba is gonna get stunned up on entry, tries to flash away. They do have Tortuga trapped in the pit, has a lantern, but just going to expend the flash anyways. The slicing maelstrom doesn't actually find the value that it needs this time around. The Bandage Trust connect onto Limestone. They take down the Cannon, and Tortuga, excited, gets in there, takes down that last couple of members of New Origin. Scarlet going to be the last to drop, and this time it's a clean ace.
Champions rise in the night. Power flows through neon light. Summoner's Rift, we take the dive. In the LXC, we come alive. We strategize 5 on 5. Pushing lanes, we've got the drive. Nexus falls, it's all a race. In the LXC, we find our place. Feel the beat of destiny. In the LXC, we're wild and free. Reach your dreams, our legacy. We fight till dawn in harmony.
Hello, everyone. I'm your wonderful play-by-play caster today, Storm, here to guide us through this wonderful LXC Sentinel matchup. We're looking at RAWR versus TFF today. My wonderful color for the evening, Soul. Would you like to throw any opening remarks?
Yeah. Good evening. Excited to see this first best of 5 here for Sentinel as we head in the quarters. And these players are on the ball. They already are in drafts, sir. They want to get into it.
Good. Because I'm an EP boy, and I'm not saying I want a team to lose really fast, but I am glad to be here. I just would like to get some sleep tonight, because Soul didn't help me with that last night. So,
Gotta
looks like we're
do the
getting into
tuck
it.
in. Yeah, draft starts. Here we go. Anything you're
Immediately-
expecting to see?
TFF immediately getting rid of the Splits Crank, I think is a really good choice here. Obviously, RAR not playing with Doki tonight.
No double
Don't know
jungle.
if that's a savior or blessing or not, but I think maybe targeting Stink Pickle's mid pool. I know he plays a couple of weird picks like the Aphelios mid. Obviously, banning away this Mel to try to incentivize them to not play AD mids, also a good option. I would also really like to see somewhere in this a Rek'Sai ban eventually. Um,
Really?
the Moistenings played an absolute metric load of Rek'Sai in this league, and I really don't know why it keeps getting let through constantly. So unless TFF's got a really good plan for it, or they just want to like force him to try to play something else, I think they should look to get rid of it maybe second phase if they don't go jungle first rotation. But we'll see what the first pick here
Yeah,
is.
that does actually make sense. I do recall him tearing up a couple matches on this Rek'Sai. Jinx kind of the staple right now, first pick, at least as far as
Yeah,
ADCs go.
Jinx is kind of your do-all, be-all AD carry. Very few bad matchups, can kind of do everything, scales incredibly into late game, and immediately RAWR giving themselves some kind of backline access with that Rek'Sai like we were just talking about. I think with RAWR, they do not want these games going late. I think they like to try to play around their top side, just kind of hand checking, and I think giving moistening an aggressive early game jungler like Rek'Sai is definitely the way to go about it.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the Swain looks to be mid, or is that a? They're just gonna flex that around since that could be top, mid, or even APC.
True, it is a pretty good triple flex. I want to say I've seen Feathers play this top a little bit. Definitely not a super comfort pick for him, but even this champ's like really bad matchups aren't that bad. We see the Lulu blind coming out, making more sense of why this Blitzcrank ban exists. I don't
Yes.
know if TFF plays it, but a Silas here could go kind of crazy. Could go
Yeah,
kind of
Silas
crazy.
would be very strong with the when she's showing her Swain on the board for sure. And I guess that could be a four-way flex if support as well. With the Swain, he kind of goes everywhere still. So Jungle Poppy.
Yeah, and TFF also just kind of standing on their ground here, saying if you guys want to play flex, we can play flex. Obviously, I would assume this Poppy to go into jungle, picking it this early. It's not a bad matchup into the Rek'Sai can kind of just W the tunnel, and when Rek'Sai comes out, should still eat the grounding effect, as well as she can just kind of force the Rek'Sai out of fights. We see the Ziggs on 3. I do not like this, unironically.
It's a
I
lot
think
of
what
AP.
Rek'Sai and Swain want to do versus what Ziggs wants to do are entirely two different things. But I also see the world they're just trying to pick this for bot lane, turn bot lane into this neutralizing lane, and also maybe setting up to put the Swain top to maybe give themselves that like 80 with a Felios mid pick here would be my idea of what they're going for.
I will say
But
Swain Ziggs is a very toxic bot lane to deal with. It's a lot of
he,
damage, it's good poke, and their hard engage is kind of bonkers at 6. They do put out a lot of damage, so they could still stuff both of them bot.
they could. I feel like Swain with his recent changes really needs like actual gold income to get online. But again, if you're just gonna body this lane phase into the Jinx, you're gonna have play gold, you're gonna have kill gold. So it is definitely an angle they could look at here. But we just immediately see the Urgot top blind.
Yep, so that'll be for
This
feathers.
for sure. If you're TFF, you can put this Poppy topside if you really want. It's not an awful matchup into Urgot. It's definitely not the best either, but it is an option if they feel like there's a really good niche jungle pick here to just kind of completely stall out what RAR wants to do.
Yeah, it's hard to still judge what RAR's doing with this comp, because there are those flex picks sitting there. So you have to, even though you're seeing these picks, you're like, well, that could go, a multitude of lanes. So they're gonna have to fall back to some comfort here.
Yeah, and then we see TFF just immediately going with this Hui Jarvan. Kind of what I was just saying, and ironically about the Poppy is it can actually play pretty well into this Urgot. It's obviously not going to slam the lane, but it's pretty good at sticking. Can stop the dash on the Urgot flip, and then just giving them the good first mid jungle duo in the Jarvan Hui, just to try to blow up this Swain possibly. Hui being a real pretty long-range mage, has quite the reach advantage on something like Swain. But as we see, the Swain actually does end up getting flexed into support, and they counter the play with an R5 Akali.
Hey, when you're not sure what you want to play and you want to bait a mid pick, draft 2 mid laners and make them then, do it second round so you can get a real good counter.
It is definitely
3
an
mids
option.
in the game. I like it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting team comp. You got some poke, some hard in, and some sustain, so be a very active team fight bouncing around.
Very much so. Going with the side of TFF, obviously this is much more just your standard control mage, hyper carry, AD carry with double frontline and enchanter comp. If RAWR is not able to get a sizable lead in this early game, I think it can get pretty difficult for them to actually cut through Lulu shields and get Urgot executes off. So for the side of RAWR, I think this team comps can work, but is much harder to play.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic damage here. So outside of the Urgot and Rek'Sai, which you're getting some AD damage out of that, but there's not that AD carry like a Jinx or something that you're gonna have to build armor for. These guys are gonna basically stack the MR and run it, so it's a little concerning. I have to see how they deal with that tankiness, coming up from a Jarvan and a Poppy.
Yeah, for sure. So with this game 1, what side are you taking, Soul?
I like the standard comp. I do. I would go TFF here. It's RAR's got the fun comp there. Probably a lot of comfort. It's gonna be fun to watch and play, but I'm not sure it's gonna hold up. So I think TFF takes this.
I have to agree with you. I do have to agree with you. I feel like RAR's a little bit lost in the sauce of just trying to pick good lane matchups so that they can try to make sure Rek'Sai's got good angles to play in this early game. But at what point do you just have to eat the fact you're going to be in a bad matchup somewhere just so your comp makes sense? But with that, I think we're going to lead into a little bit of a break, give ourselves that spectator delay, and then when we come back, we'll be in game.
Just break my heart. I've seen relics of kingdoms past and crowns of ancient kings. I've heard stories of distant lands, realms I long to reach. Your voice, it beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home and wander. It beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home.
What's up, guys? We're back here for this wonderful opening game for LXC Sentinel playoffs, quarterfinals. Me and Souls still here shoutcasting with y'all. As we see, TFF taking just a pretty standard 5-point along with RAWR. We're going to see early which way these junglers are hoping to path. Obviously, something like this Rek'Sai ganking Poppy's not the most efficient thing, as she has pretty good tools to shut down most of your kill threat. But also playing for your double-ranged APC lane isn't great because they should be shoving. So I'm hoping Rek'Sai finds a home. Otherwise, this champ could be a little doom or gloom.
Sorry about that. Vish was hitting me up. So yeah, I missed the back end of that storm.
My brother is out here getting e-girl diff right now. That is crazy.
That it does happen.
But
I apologize. Did you get into the bold choice by Stink Pickle?
Yeah, I think not taking Flash here and also opting into Conqueror. Conqueror obviously strong late game rune for the Akali, but does not do much for you in this lane phase. Also opting to not take Flash into a comp where he doesn't overly need the damage as much as he just needs getting in, I think is not the wisest choice. But he also could just see saying, hey, I don't think Efron's a real human. I'm gonna kill him 3 times in lane and just roam and take over the game.
We are going to see some hand checking tonight. Or at least an attempt at it.
Yeah, that's the hope. Islamic Samurai being able to get a pretty decent little freeze here. Maybe, sadly, as Jarvan is pathing away, and Poppy's not really a great zoner off this wave unless she's taking some progressive trades. But the Urgot going PTA is pretty good at this early lane phase.
Yeah, that definitely will help out. I do like to see the PTA come out over the Conqueror that I see here and there. Pretty standard laning. No one's really jumping out. Ooh, big trade.
Oh, he's getting with the flash. The Ignite comes down. Not able to convert it, though.
Wow, that was a really good Unburrow flash out of Moistening there. It looked like that was going to get the kill, but Efron, pretty quick hands to flash out of that.
Yeah, I don't think he expected that flash to come through right away. Obviously, that's a little bit of the issue of playing with this Conqueror Kali. You don't have that just sudden burst threat with something like the Electrocute. We see Chrome just stepping up and taking these fights, getting satcheled backwards.
Yeah, this is kind of that problem coming into a Swain Zig. It is a they can wave clear very well. They do have that longer poke. They're not really looking to fight you, but if you step up and get swing grabbed, yeah, they can get you a good amount of damage. It's a
Yeah,
very
with the
annoying lane.
Swordwood still just sitting at 0-0. This is honestly kind of the dream scenario for the side of TFF. They want to minimize how chaotic this early game can be with this much of a scaling comp.
Yeah, completely
See the Jinx?
agree.
Great.
Like if you TFF, you just want to sit back here. As long as these Team RAWR isn't getting kills in lane, that's your best case scenario. This Kali has to get ahead. Rek'Sai has to get ahead. Zig Swain, it's like they need this gold income and these kills. If you can just run even CS, you're in fantastic shape.
Yeah, Akali obviously, along with this top side, kind of has to be the difference maker in this game. Obviously, Ziggs just does kind of get the free scale. Something like Lulu Jinx isn't really going to punish you unless you extremely overchase. But we see the Jarvan going top. Feathers is no mana. Should be able to walk this out, but is going to get chunked and lose prio in this wave.
Yeah, little bit of damage, good amount of poke there on the Swain, but everyone's just surviving. No one's willing to commit.
Yeah, and Poodle just trying to zone the Ziggs out the waves. Sees that he doesn't have mana to really fight back, but neither does Poodle. Chrome really low here, but knows he has that barrier if need be.
Yeah, Chrome really low, one auto.
That Rek'Sai Q could just sniper out Chrome here. Barriers. Exhaust comes down. Ooh, sadly, Rek'Sai does not get trapped in that turret from there and is able to pick up that first blood.
Yeah, just gets out of turret range for that. It's a good pickup though. Does burn everything. Out of Lulu, gets the barrier. Chrome still has the flash out of all that. So
Yeah.
Chrome was able to save that somehow.
Chrome actually saving Flash is kind of their saving grace in that fight. Obviously, burn the barrier just to kind of bait in that dive initially. Poodle losing both summoners means she does have to play a little bit safer. Is going to have to be more focused on sustaining Jinx with those shields instead of playing up and trying to poke out either of these two. But we see on the other side of TFF, Jarvan going to take these camps. Oh, but he gets engaged on. Rek'Sai's in. The Akali with the Shuriken flip. And they are able to secure that as well as take away the grub from the side of TFF.
Yeah, that's a little troubling that Coach would even go for that. You don't have prio top, you don't have prio mid. You're trying to sneak grubs, but there's no vision to try and cover him here. So that's rough. That is a really rough call to try and sneak those grubs.
My guess is he thought maybe Rek'Sai was going to try to take away his bottom camps. Thought he could just take it away before she could rotate. Poodle getting engaged on here, though. Polymorph comes out. But Chrome just prioing that wave, being able to crash this big wave, should give them decent timer to maybe look at this dragon.
Yeah, Dragon would be a nice consolation prize if they could actually get it here, but again, there's no prio mid, and your bot lane's in a stalemate. So, would like to see a gank here work. At least get the bot lane low.
Yeah, and Efron is not really losing out in these mid trades. He's actually down in gold, but a lot of Akali's gold she hasn't spent yet. If I had to take a good guess, yeah, she's sitting on 1,600, though she's up 300 gold. The Hui is sitting on more gold, but as we see, Kali gets that recall off, not choosing to blow the TP yet, but they are going to see K here on this dragon. Rek'Sai's going in. The Unburrow and the knockup. Jarvan EQing out. Their Kali burns the TP. Rek'Sai ulting over, claiming the feat of warfare for kills. And Rek'Sai, you have tremor sense. You saw no one coming. Why are we flashing the wall?
Yeah, and it's just they had prio that time for mid and bot, but the collapse is just too late, and the coach gets kind of hung out to dry a second time here, trying to get these neutrals.
Yeah, and the one thing that can kind of suck here from this early game is if Jarvan's falling this far behind to a Rek'Sai, we see the Swain flash forward, Chompers come out, flash away, Rek'Sai stuck in the trap. Jinx does kind of just get the free hit here, but they disengage and say no more.
Yeah, not a ton being used there, but it's still a good clear up I hear by the Rek'Sai. But I do agree, this is going to get a little more troubling for Coach, as Rek'Sai is 3 kills, is now going to be able to fight Coach when he sees him in the jungle. Jarvan no longer wins these fights.
No, and we see Rek'Sai with that full Eclipse, no boots, really just going for that full burst in her combos right now, knowing that they have all of the gold and all the kills on their team, that they have to be this carry and this damage source in the early game. Is a big swing for them, but also on the side of TFF, obviously losing both these neutrals kinds of sucks, but the only thing coming up in any reasonable amount of time is a grub, so they kind of can just take a free minute or two to scale, but we see the Akali's going in.
Oof, and this is exactly what we talked about here at the break of how RAWR actually gets into this game. Either the Rek'Sai gets ahead or the Akali gets ahead. They needed that slow pace to not get kills on these champions. If TFF could do that, they basically win this game at 20. That is not happening. We do see the Rek'Sai is ahead. Akali is now getting ahead. These are going to become extremely big nightmares, and something seems to be maybe off with the communication. Coach has been hung out kind of dry there twice now, so it's definitely concerning.
Yeah, that can be one of the big issues, especially playing against a champion like Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai plays on slightly different timers and plays from different angles than most junglers. So being able to track where she's really at can be difficult, especially if you're not super practiced playing into the champion. Which, if anyone wants to check Rek'Sai's pick rate, it's almost non-existent. It does not exist. Silent, taking off a little bit more. See the Nethergrass missing out though, and he's able to EQ his way home.
It's tough. Coach going in on an invade there again. There's no prio and no vision, so it's very scary to walk into that darkness right now. Even though Rek'Sai's up there on grubs.
You see Poppy able to steal the one grub away and actually cause them to miss another neutral point for this objective. Is really turning this game into bot side favored, because now the teams are going to have to start heavy prioritizing these drags, unless they're going to just give up these feats of warfare.
Play from Islamic Samurai there to steal away that grub.
I will be interested to see what Poppy goes for in this build. Obviously, we already see the tier pretty standard for Poppy these days, going into that Fimbulwinter. We see a Longsword and Ruby Crystal, maybe possibly going for that Sundered Sky Rush, giving him a little bit more lane power. Honestly, this might have been a game you could have gotten away with just going full tank. You've got a lot of damage in this comp. But I also see the world Poppy just to say, I want a little bit of extra burst, so when this Akali dives, I can actually really put some threat onto her. Taking a little bit of a prolonged trade in this bot lane. Sadly, Jinx almost extends it too long, able to give Ziggs that cooldown to come back for the Q. Getting smacked by it on the exit of it makes that trade a little bit worse. We see Poppy going in, charge misses, not able to get access to the buckler in time. But at the end of the day, this is two Bruisers champions just kind of smacking each other for a while.
Yeah, so you got Dragon coming up here in about 30 seconds. You see the prio's already been established by RAWR. Yeah, Moistening is here on this Rek'Sai, just looking.
Yeah, now we see the Akali rotating down as well. Chrome getting jumped by the Rek'Sai. Ziggs ult comes out, Lulu ult to save him. Chrome still fighting, barrier pop. Moist King having to flash out. They have to be really careful here. Akali can pick up all of these kills if she plays it right. Oh, and the Shuriken flip into the perfect execution is able to line all of them up. The Hui just too late on that rotate.
Yeah, Stink Pickle had full prio on that, got that wave shoved in, makes that roam down. And they go ahead and they sacrifice Swain pretty much to just eat tower the entirety of the dive. Picks up 3 kills. If you're RAWR, you gotta be pretty happy with that, especially getting Dragon on the backside.
Yeah, this is their pristine, perfect. This is exactly how they want this game to be going. Rek'Sai getting that early game lead, being able to force these tough skirmishes. Then Akali, once she gets that natural scaling, hitting that level 11, has a lot of damage and a lot of access. Being able to follow up Rek'Sai's engages and just be able to generate her own lead off of the Rek'Sai as well. And we're starting to see where this comp can get really hard to deal with when these divers start just getting gold.
Yeah, and Akali now has that Lichbane finish, so this is gonna be a lot worse when Shuriken Flip hits. So a lot more burst damage coming out.
Poodle a little caught out here. Sway Nethergrass comes out, misses. Poodle shielding herself. Chrome just kind of just taking these shots at the frontliner with rockets. But this Jinx does need to kind of play a little cautious here. You've got your tier 2 boots, but you're still waiting on your full item completion. Into this Ziggs, who's already hit the Ludens, already has a second lost chapter. I'm not sure this bot lane really wins the fight unless Chrome Giga Smurfs and dodges almost every Ziggs skill shot.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that bot lane's gonna go for a bit until, you know, at least Jinx has 2 items, which is really tough. It's a big ask.
You see the Jinx gets exhausted. Polymorph comes out. Poodle using that wild growth to save Jinx, but burning the flashes. We see Jarvan's engaging. Flash forward Cataclysm. Does not pay attention to the TP behind him. Stink Pickle's here with the Shuriken flip, still holding perfect execution. This way has to be careful on this rotate. This Akali with Lichbane tier 2 boots is quick, and we see it. The Akali ult comes down. Shroud, Shuriken flip, trying to wait out that eye, but can't wait long enough. Still has perfect. Oh, and we have a Chicago Bears field goal. Big Pickle putting it between 2 there, missing both, but able to get that empowered kunai auto off with the Lichbane to trade out the Jinx.
Sorry, I was not ready for the milk comment. There's so much back there right there. But yeah, it was a really spicy play there from Stink Pickle. Does miss the Shuriken, but yeah, you kind of gave over the kill where you didn't want either of them to get it. You did clean up Jinx on the backside, but you just put Hui back in this game.
Yeah, dropping that shutdown can be really hard to deal with. That is the biggest issue this RAWR team can't have right now, is throwing these shutdowns back and forth is a really good avenue for the side of TFF to start fighting back into this game. We see Hui actually prioritizing the Leandri's rush first item while sitting on the components for what is going to be Archangels. That's a new one to me, I'll admit. Not a huge Hui player.
Yeah.
Jamie Ziggs also good with that first turret with Satchel.
Yeah, I don't do a ton with Hui myself on where that prio should be. I would have thought Boots would have been somewhere on the table by now. At least Boots 1.
100%. Obviously, Hui is a pretty good stand your ground champion. Kind of say, hey, I get you more move speed, but you have to walk into me. I don't have to walk into you. But we're kind of seeing here a lot of TFF just taking bad timers. Feathers being able to just chunk away at that top turret. Bot lane losing first turret to Zig Satchel. I admit TFF is not playing with a gold lead right now. They're down about 4K at 18 minutes. That is a sizable chunk, but there has to be a point where you stand and try to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, and this is what RAWR really needs to do here, especially with this comp. They have to continue to step on the gas. If at any point in time they stop stepping on the gas
Oh,
and
Rek'Sai
give them
comes
an
in, flash. His exalt comes out. Exhaust. Wild growth. Rek'Sai has no more tools. The exhaust comes down. Way another shutdown. Silent K just locks Adrian in that cataclysm. The Jinx ult comes over top. The Akali with the perfect execution. But we see the Urgot ult snipes away the Jinx. That should be the end of this little skirmish. The Akali looking for a little bit more. Is going to get chunked out by this way though.
Yeah, great little snipe there at the end from Feathers to put that back on their side. And you kind of see the powers of both comps. They done? Maybe. Okay, but yeah, you see the power there of both comps. RAWR had that quick in, looked for the kill, and they didn't get it. Lulu delays that kill, and it ends up actually costing Rek'Sai her life under that tower, with how much they were able to delay that. Yeah, and then they turn around, they get the catch over on Adrian. Like, a lot of good things happened there. You saw them pick up 3 kills. Feathers makes it nice to trade back the 1. But if they don't get those quick, fast kills and turn those team fights, RAWR could be in a lot of trouble. With the gold lead that they had, I would have expected the fight to go much different for them.
Yeah, in that one fight, RAWR swung their about 4,000 gold lead only down to about, it's starting to get up more now just as they're getting their waves shoved up. But at one point, they were back down to only a 3,000 gold lead. Even trading evenly in that fight. Obviously, TFF had to use a lot of resources to take that fight. But the other thing to keep track of is the interactions with these champions in the game. Things like that pop W, being able to completely stop Akali's engage there. If Poppy can just play to say, hey, I am not letting Akali into this backline. Rek'Sai, don't get me wrong, is a strong duelist champion. Team fighting, not her greatest strong suit. So just being able to say, hey, I'll let Rek'Sai come back here. Rek'Sai is allowed in the club. Really mean assassin girl is not. Face card required.
Yeah, and that worked out extremely well, just letting the Rek'Sai in, and then the Quay catching him with the fear under tower for then Jinx chompers. Like, you just locked up forever while face tanking a turret.
Yeah, and that's definitely the strong suit of TFF's comp here. They have much more sustained damage in the hyper carry like this Jinx, and a pretty basic artillery control mage like Way. But we also have to keep track of Feathers here. Is now on 2 items on that Urgot. Is going to start to be able to start chunking through Islamic Samurai, who's really just a lot of HP here. The only real resist he's got in his build so far is those steel plates.
Yeah, there's a couple key timers here coming up, as you mentioned. Feathers being one of them. This dragon and another 330, like, they cannot be allowed to have soul here. TFF is going to have to find a way to fight this.
Oh, and we see Silent K looking on the engage on Swain. Cataclysm comes out, Swain flashes out. And that is a big timer to burn. That Swain flash will be down for this next drag fight. And Jarvan's Cataclysm should be up. A really important thing to think about in this comp right now is their entire comp is really reliant on just that Swain being able to run forward, keep that Rylai slow on multiple members, whereas this Jarvan now can just say, hey, I don't need to catch backline. That's not my job anymore. I'm just going to ult this Jarvan, and I'm EQing out, and he hopefully should die. We see Efron, though, throwing the Way ult, trying to burst out this Swain, and he connects with the Q. But we see RAWR still actively trying to take this Otacon. Jinx is on the rotate. The Akali is behind. Boodle, please turn around. Boodle pussing out the wild growth. Akali in Shroud. The rest of the team's there. There is not a lot of burst left to deal with the Akali. Poppy just lets the ult fly, though. I think if you're the side of TFF, it's okay to stand here and bait them into this fight. with them standing on Otacon, but you have to be careful. You're missing your main damage here.
Yeah, definitely a little scary there. Poodle probably looking at the fight ahead, as was the Jinx. And Sting Pickle rewarded for the patience of sitting in that side brush.
When we see Efron walking up, trying to play with that zone. Yep, Kali is just kind of getting chased by the Jarvan. Islamic Samurai able to rotate backwards and deal with this Rek'Sai. Jarvan getting ulted by the Urgot. The Akali keeps looking for more. The Shuriken flip going in on Islamic Samurai. Samurai does not have any MMR, is just going to keep tanking this damage. We see Adrian is back. Flash comes out from Efron. Jinx Rocket goes wide.
Where did you submit it?
And holy people stop dying. This
Yeah,
game
for as long
is
as that
getting a
fight
lot-
went, only Coach died right there in that entire engage. That's kind of
Adrian
crazy.
was not there to start, thankfully.
Yeah, Adrian had
Outside
died
of
on the original. You see, this looks like it's going to be Stink Pickle staying. He's going to be sitting in that bush, rewarded for a second kill. I've always dubbed this as the LeBlanc bush. Anytime you see a pro player lock in LeBlanc, that's where they sit.
Oh, 100%. And if anything, I think this is a fight that for the side of TFF they would have rather had go bad now. Hopefully now they're thinking and are more cognitive of the fact they need to clear their side of the vision on their side of the map first before walking to these neutrals. Obviously playing a dive comp like this Akali Rek'Sai, if they're just already behind you, this gets really scary.
Yeah, like you cannot have your ADC walking in blind into the darkness. And there's a 7-1 Akali on the board type of thing. So
And we
here,
see Adrian going for that Shadow Flame plus Magi's.
so Dragon's up, Soul Point, would be Mountain Soul. Can TFF do anything about it?
I think it's really hard to get in through the Swain right now. Swain with the exhaust is going to be able to live for a while, but they know this is happening. But they just don't know how to get in with this Akali under him.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I see teams like kind of struggle that back and forth, and I've been out of comp for a little bit, I'm always curious as the communication's going on. Yeah, either you're going in or you're getting out. I never understood why the dance to poke back and forth. Like maybe we'll go in, maybe we won't. You kind of already made your decision. Either you're fighting them or you're not. If there's a steal, I understand it. You know, one person's going to go in to try and sack. That would be Coach. Otherwise, why are you dropping like waves in CS and other lanes?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of the back and forth of it. Obviously, you're kind of playing that dance to see if maybe that Swain steps a little too far forward and you can look for that trade and maybe bait them to come off that dragon and try to bail them out. But we see now on the side of TFF that these neutral objective bounties are starting to come up. Top tier 1 bounty flipping over for that Poppy.
Alright,
Carving a little bit no man's land here though.
it makes a little more sense then, adding that clarity from what I'm seeing. Is that they're actually looking to see if they can bait the Swain to make a misplay. And they were trying to fight it. So that makes more sense.
Miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and Stink Pickle here trying to see if he can catch Efron. Getting a little overzealous.
Stink
Taking that
must
dedicated
love
lead.
playing LeBlanc as well.
I will no ever go OP.GG diving because I'm lazy and that is someone else's job.
I agree. It's just the way he's playing this Akali, sitting behind walls and things, just looking for someone. It means he plays the Nico and all those champions that enjoy that type of gameplay.
Yeah, obviously the side of RAWR want to keep playing this pick comp. Even with the lead they have, they take a bad 5v5. It is not impossible for Jinx to just get one reset and start running through people. It's just what the champion does.
Yeah, there's
But
no
obviously-
armor on anybody but Argot. This is all squish.
Oh, boy. You see the Jarvan engage. Swain Flash. Cataclysm comes out. And a Jinx Rocket with
Whoa.
a way QW just nukes the Swain.
And that's what happens when no one builds any resistances, magic or armor. You go from half health to nothing.
You're not wrong, and especially for the side of RAWR here with that double mountain drag, you actually get a ton of value out of buying resist here. We see actually now the Akali going for that verdant barrier, giving herself a little bit of MR, spell shield to help with her dive. Hopefully Poodle or Efron are able to just poke that off early in the fight so that she doesn't get to catch a crucial ability with it. But right
yeah,
now,
that Efron fear hurts.
really the important thing to look at right now is this Jarvan. He's only 20 CS behind, pretty much on gold with Rek'Sai for the most part. Rek'Sai only up 800 despite a 20 CS lead and a 2 kill lead on the Jarvan.
Yeah,
It's a bit of
that's
those
pretty
projector
crazy.
bounties. The other thing, Islamic Samurai has played this game pretty well, but kind of sitting on the triple donuts right now, brother.
Yeah, and almost what 3K behind. Like that's a tough spot for a Poppy to be in. Oh, we're
Yeah,
just
see,
starting
RAWR
Baron.
Baron.
Okay, and there's Stink Pickle in the back, sitting there.
Yep, we see the Akali's channeling recall here. Don't quite get the reasoning for it. Maybe just trying to bait.
It looks like they just wanted the TP out. Because they immediately pulled off Baron the moment that Islamic's teleport got channeled.
Looks like Silent may be able to catch Akali on that sweeper. Decide to fully chase her out. But they do not have the range yet for the move speed to kind of catch up. One of those kind of slept on things, that Magi's all that extra move speed out of combat does make you quite slippery, especially on these assassin style champions.
Yeah, interesting little dance there. Kind of tense for as far up as RAWR is here ahead in their gold. Not the confidence there to take that fight. But Elder in 40?
Yeah, and this is going to be a really big fight for the side of TFF if they can look to maybe be able to steal and flip this fight, but this is not an objective you can really give them for free. You've got Jinx on 3 items, sitting with a pot in inventory. You've got Way on 3 items.
Ooh.
Like, you are really strong, but Islamic Samurai kind of getting jumped here. The Poppy ult knocks 2 out, but sadly, the Akali and Ziggs both still on his head. But we see now TFF running to the side of Baron. But they see it. We see the CPs coming in. The Akali and the Ziggs. Silent just trying to spot out this Akali, getting engaged on the perfect execution comes out. He's most likely going to die here, but the Akali has no more abilities to really play with. Just playing on that Shroud. The Poppy is still dead. Chrome having the flash barrier. Urgot ult goes wide. Efron on the back end of that. A little bit of an overreach on that one, brother. At the end of the day, they might not have ult, but Feathers is still one beefy Urgot, and that Akali's still got Magi's.
Yeah, what an insane amount of damage there from Stink Pickle. Basically 2 abilities, 90% of Jinx health bar.
That's top tier 2. Elder going down. If RAWR wants, they can look at Baron here with that Elder, with Stink Pickle looking on that flank when they walk in. I think if you try to contest this fight, you're just going to get blown up from Elder buff. So I think for this next couple minutes, you just kind of have to hope that Runan's Jinx and Hui have enough AoE and enough wave clear to kind of sustain out against these double buffs.
Yeah, we do see them go ahead and start that. The Baron Stink Pickle wants a little more here.
Yeah, he's going in the perfect execution pop. Elder Buff just rips him down, but Jinx stepping up. Perfect execution 2 is
Oh,
still active. It gets just popped by that Akali. I don't
yeah.
know if they just didn't think it was going to do that much. I normally playing any character, I'm not going to expect an assassin to jump at me and rip 80% of my health bar away, barely touching me. But it just seemed like it caught Poodle off guard, holding onto that exhaust and the wild growth. We see Aphron still up, starting to get tagged by his abilities, slowed up, trying to clear these waves.
Yeah, I don't know if Exhaust and Wild Growth Jinx lives through that anyways, honestly. That's a fully stacked Magi Shadow Flame Lichbane. Kali is doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, and we're going to start to see a little bit more strength out of the Ziggs. 1-0 and 8. Stay able to rip down these turrets with Satchel. Kali taking that base here instead of... Oh, cancels it. They could look for the end here. But we'll see if they're going to force this out or not. Do have to be a little careful here. This Elder Buff should be ending soon. Jarvan going in on Macho. Pops the Cataclysm. He's exhausted. Pop. The Akali is low here. Jinx does pick up that kill, but the Nexus does fall down to Macho at the end.
Yeah, more victory. You got the stacks of Stink Pickle at the end, but pretty brutal game there for RAWR. Great dive comp, good execution. A little slow to start, but they finished it strong. They go up
Yeah,
1-0.
obviously this game won. The Stink Pickle on the Akali, 29,900 damage, 2,000 more gold, more than anyone else on the team. I think is a pretty sizable amount to see them come up with in this game one. Efron and Islamic both put up decent games. Um, for the side of TFF, I think you need to give this top side a little bit more firepower. Obviously, having a scaling lane like this Jinx Lulu, you do want to make sure it doesn't fall too far behind. But in doing that, you need to be able to generate pressure on the other side of the map. And it just did not look like they had it with this Poppy. Just going 0-0-0, not even trying to fight, not really pressuring throughout a majority of the game, and just letting this Urgot free scale. And then Silent K just needs to play a little bit more reserved. Obviously, it's Rek'Sai and you're playing Jarvan. Jarvan needs to be playing aggressive. It's just the nature of the champion. But at the end of the day, you need to slow the game down, especially when you're playing these really high scaling comps like Jinx Wei. Sometimes just not pressing a button is worth the threat of not pressing it.
Yeah, and I think Poodle summed it up kind of well with how she felt after that game there in the lobby chat. That she would like to request a restraining order against Stink Pickle on that Akali. There may have been a bit of bullying going on.
Yeah. So for the side of TFF, you gotta play around this vision a little bit better. They're gonna keep picking random backline divers like this Akali, being able to control vision, being able to spot out those flanks earlier would be a big help. But going into game two,
What do you
looks
make as
like
adjustments walking into that? TFF is taking red.
I think possibly saving your counter pick for mid to make sure Efron is in a favorable matchup that isn't really abusable is a good place to start. That or if you really feel like you've got a bit of a top diff here, putting Samurai in a bit more of a flip champion that can play more for this lane and play to get some kind of lead is also a good angle. But we're gonna find out here pretty quick. Also, I could be lying, but we may have another person joining our call here in a little bit because Soul doesn't love me. But thankfully, someone else does.
One, I never said that. Two, I got told I was getting punted off for Dira. like, I wasn't even included in this decision. So as
Someone
far as
marked
I
the
know,
NFL trade deal thing, whatever.
as far as
But
I know,
I will post the receipts. I did nothing.
Where is he not staying in lobby? Did we lose him again?
Oh, Dira, would you like to give our wonderful introduction to everyone? You seem to pop in.
Yeah, sure. I'm Dira, the owner of New Origins and a fellow caster here at LXC, and decided to hop in. Let's all have you know, be not be too overwhelmed running prod and casting. So I just said I'd help out here.
So glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful as always. Were you able to catch much of game one there?
Y- Yeah, I caught about like halfway through. It looks like just a massive performance from Stink on that Akali. I mean, he was doing some massive work on that champion, just getting getting so much value, just looking for those angles and getting those flanks, and then just assassinating their backline.
Yeah, obviously he was a major major point in that game. Same thing with Moist King. A lot of what I was saying pre-draft for game one is I think you take him off Rek'Sai. I've don't recall a bad game on it. I've seen him play. Obviously I'm not super involved in Sentinel to know how much of an impact he's really had, but I just think taking him off something that's the comfort pick is a very good idea for the side of TFF, as well as that it's kind of like AD Zac on the fact it's going to play on these weird angles that a lot of times you're just not going to ward for, because if you ward for them, you start dying from normal angles, and it kind of becomes this little bit of crisscross matchup of you're really just 50-50 in your ward placement.
Yeah, and I mean, like looking at this draft, it seems like TFF's taking away that Ziggs from RAWR. I mean, it's such an annoying champion to deal with inside of bot lane, especially just very difficult to really like deal with as an ADC. And I mean, I would be extremely shocked to see Akali not come through as his third ban.
Yeah, for the side of TFF, maybe they don't first round ban it. Obviously, RAR did go for the R5 for it after seeing the Hui come out blind, thinking it was originally into a Swain. Um, we see the Seraphine get ripped away on the third ban instead.
Yeah, so I think they're just saying, hey, you're not gonna blind the Akali, and we can get a second phase. And I think RAR may just look to pick their X. Yep, there it is. Just looks like they're gonna, it worked last time. Why not pick their Rek'Sai again?
I'm gonna say it the first game. I'm gonna say it the second game. Unless you have a very good pick in Rek'Sai that you are super comfortable on, please just ban this champion. Feathers is not first rounding Alawi. And even if he does, who cares? It's still Alawi and Cop.
Hmm.
But we see the Volibear being the answer now inside of TFF.
I mean, I can kind of see the idea. It's just, you get Volley doesn't really lose 1v1 to many melee champions. And so I think they're just looking to match the early game skirmishing power that Rek'Sai has. But I mean, Rek'Sai is just looking to dive on that backline, so you have to be pretty careful to not get too deep on that volley bear. But well, wow, we're speed drafting as we see Caitlyn locked in for TFF, and then Mel Aphelios instantly locked for the side of RAR.
Yeah, obviously these could be flexed, but knowing RAR, knowing these players, that Aphelios is unironically going mid, about 90% positive on that, as well as Mel going bot. I think Mel is a very good champion into Caitlyn. Played the matchup, she throws absolutely everything back at you, just because Caitlyn is super combo reliant. We see the Braum blind being the answer into the Mel. You being the support player here, what do you think that lane matchup is going to play like?
So I am incredibly biased because I'm a big Braum blind hater in general, but I just don't really understand why we draft Braum into pretty much no hard engage, and there's not really a lot that he's blocking outside of like I guess like 2 seconds of like Mel and Aphelios damage. So I think it's a little bit strange, but I mean it is a really strong champion right now, and it does provide a good amount of CC and utility. So I can understand, just getting that strong champion off the table.
Yeah, we'll say for the side of TFF, having that Braum volley bear, maybe they're just thinking, hey, at 20 minutes, Braum volley, just kind of stand with our back line, bait this Rek'Sai to try to force an engage, pop the Braum ult, prop Braum wall, as well as get the passive on Rek'Sai and hopefully blow Rek'Sai up before Braum's disengage kind of withers out, and then hopefully just take the fight 4v5. That might be the angle they're looking for here. But I think also choosing to take double bans at the top and mid lane here again is not a good idea, especially with this Braum blind. You probably should be trying to focus out things like the Karma. But we see the Syndra on 4, leaving that top lane R5 for Samurai this game.
Yeah, and just trying to get a good matchup for Samurai into Feathers could be a good option. I mean, Feathers was kind of a silent carry in that game. I mean, he consistently had a lead. So I think just getting a bit more of like a strong top lane matchup might be a good angle. And Syndra is such a good blind. I mean, you could honestly pick that champion in first pick and still do fine.
Yeah, we see the TK being the answer into the Braum. TK is very good at beating on other melee supports. Kind of been the general. If you want to play engage, Braum and TK are usually your two answers to it, both being into each other. I think TK is just the better version of Braum if a Braum style champion's in the game. But we see RAWR immediately answer with the TK Urgot, giving Feathers that blind Urgot again. TFF
Ooh, and they
begins the
instantly
locking.
pick. Yeah. I mean, this is a decent matchup after 6 for Kale. I mean, Urgot does have a severe range advantage, and if he doesn't flash E or Kale doesn't misstep, it's a pretty Kale favored matchup when she gets that range advantage at 6. And that's yeah, I do agree that Tom Kench will normally favor in this lane. I mean, we'll have to definitely see how if it's going to be the Aphelios mid that you're predicting, because if that's the case, then I don't know if Tom Kench can out 2v2 Caitlyn Braum, but it's definitely a pretty solid champion for saving your carries when Syndra or Volibear look to just, execute them.
Yeah, so going into this game, whose draft are you siding with on this one?
Um, I'm honestly probably favoring TFF in this draft just because I think their draft is a lot easier to execute. I feel like RAWR's team comp's a bit it's not super wacky, but I feel like a lot of their champions do just kind of want to walk at TFF, which the Braum kind of stops, and I think that they don't really have a good answer to shut down this Kale after 6. So, and I think the Syndra also does a really good job of just keeping those 3 frontliners away.
Yeah, on the side of RAR, I know Stink Pickle has been super comfortable on this Aphelios, and we're gonna kind of see the 200 years versus 200 years of Aphelios Mel versus the scaling Syndra Kale. Both obviously have super high ceilings. I think this is about as free of a lane phase as you can ever get playing Syndra. I think if you're not solo killing Aphelios on repeat, there's other issues in this game. Kale does have to be wary of this Rek'Sai and Urgot in this early game, even till probably a level 11. You kind of can just get one rotation by these two, being that high damage. Yes, the ult can save you from a lot of that initial burst, but it's still gonna get dicey.
Yeah, and I think a big thing going into this game is going to be how TFF plays with their bot lane, because this bot lane matchup is technically stronger in a 2v2, but Tom Kench Q plus Mel poke can just kind of whittle you down. So if you're not playing pretty aggressive on this Caitlyn and Braum, and you're just kind of like surviving, you will just end up getting poked out because the Mel will just, out poke a Caitlyn. So I think that'll be definitely the biggest point to watch, and then just making sure that this Kale and Syndra don't get don't get too far up, don't get ganked by that Rek'Sai, and because if they fall behind, then it can be pretty difficult for their team.
Very true, very true. Wise words. My wonderful, glorious leader. Well, with that, guys, I think we're going to take it into a little bit of a break or a wonderful spectator delay, and then we'll see y'all when the game's ready to start.
I've been drinking water for some time, picking up the parts of all my life. Didn't get to solve it this time. How we had to break apart. Don't tell me why we can't collide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. I've been seeing farther in dark skies, bringing up the fire, not for a time. Follow my heart, can't deny. Show you how I play no part. Ghosts in the night don't justify the love we lost, the love we hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on.
I feel the gravity pull and it keeps me away. I would rather be here, lonely in space. I've made up my mind, I just wanna be free. I live my own life in a new galaxy. I wanna be weightless in the silence of the night sky. I wanna free fall into nothing at all. I'm taking the moment, starting all over. I wanna be free and live my own life in a new galaxy.
Welcome back, everyone, for our wonderful second game. We see TFF looking for a level 1 invade with this Braum. Q goes wide. Macho able to get some poke, but just taking the wards on the red and on the Raptors. Trying to catch that early pathing of this Rek'Sai.
Hey, I mean, I guess it kind of does work. I don't think the red trinket's gonna spot the other ward, which means that they will actually know where the Rek'Sai will be starting. But it looks like it's pretty standard. Just like level 1 invade to get that ward and figure out where the Rek'Sai's pathing, especially into these early game junglers. It's really important to know where this Rek'Sai is starting. That way you can be understanding accordingly as a lane and not getting ganked.
Yeah, we see TFF walking in and taking this initial fight level 1. Obviously, the side of RAWR have a better level 1 with the DK, but that Mel is not going to live up to that abuse from Caitlyn. You got to be really careful in this early game, especially this level 1 playing with that Braum passive.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about in draft, right? It's that technically TK and Mel can just kind of like poke you out, but if you're talking about hard 2v2 fights, I mean, Caitlyn, there's not really much that beats Caitlyn Braum early game like that. So with that Braum passive and just the auto attacks and the headshots, looks like we are actually getting a full base from Mel. So I'm assuming that TP is gonna come out.
Yeah.
And we didn't catch this level 1, but this is actually a lane swap. Top and mid. Stink Pickle
Volibear is looking.
top, but it looks like he might have to burn flash.
Just the ghost. Volibear taking a weird gank timer here, not having Q makes it
Yeah.
a little hard.
Yeah, it is a little bit strange, but the ghost is popped from the Aphelios. And it looks like Urgot's kind of just taking a lot of damage here just from the Syndra. I mean, I don't really feel like this is beneficial for the Urgot, but I mean, we're just basically saying, hey, with Sink Pickle, like, hey, I will just abuse the melee Kale. So, really understandable here.
Rek'Sai off that early information of that Volibear running top early is actually able to come in. The Volibear flash Q onto the Urgot, but he buffers it with the flip. Rek'Sai, though, is just taking all of these camps bot and is going to look to path into a bot lane gank here, but it's going to get spotted on a pink ward.
Yeah, but I
Volibear
mean, this is
pulling it.
yeah. If Rek'Sai gets out here, though, this is just so beneficial for the Rek'Sai. Sure, she loses the scuttle, but she got free 2 camps for that. It looks like, and now her entire top side is up. So, I mean, the Rek'Sai is pretty accelerated here in terms of farm because of the amount that Volibear has tried to force early ganks and them not being successful.
Yeah, and we see both mid laners are actually staying on pace with each other for farm, but that Kale dropping down to 12, really fighting for her life on this wave. But that can be really difficult. Obviously, Kale would love to have her gold, but that champion cares way more about time than he does. But we see the TK come in, the Ignite comes down, exhaust. If Macho can maybe flash Q or flash auto here, the flash from TK with the Q, the Mel Q comes down, no execute, and the Rom is just able to kite it out. I think
And
if
that was
you're
a
Chrome here, you got
beautiful prediction from the Tom Kench predicting the Kalen E. And all of a sudden, this lane's kind of turned its head a little bit. I mean, the Mel's doing a lot better now in this lane now that this Kalen's been kind of bullied out.
see that lane is pushing back towards the side of RAWR. Stink Pickle is able to just kind of whack down plates on this top side. Samurai just dropping minion after minion here till he can really get access to that range form.
Yeah. I mean, this Kale I mean, it's an ADC versus Kale. Kale can't really do anything. But she does have to be careful of the dive here. As Rex is not even gonna wait for the wave, just gonna insta flash and secure that kill.
Yeah, and obviously Volibear on the bottom side of the map is not able to help there. Syndra off that first base going for the Faded Ashes. Um, I know we've had a lot of debates between different players over in New Origins, but I'm gonna take it to my grave. I despise Blackfire Torch Syndra. I don't like it in this game. Maybe it's alright just due to the fact you're laning into this Urgot. But if you're the side of TFF, I feel like you'd just rather have the burst here because you've already got a ton of sustained damage in this Kale and in the Caitlyn along with Volibear. That Syndra's main goal here should be to just blow up this Aphelios in fights. So I feel like they would have gotten more value out of playing for that maybe Luden's build. But we're going to see. Maybe he tries to just do a Leandri's rush with Archangels again on Syndra. We see the Syndra ult comes out. Feathers living with 1 HP, but Efron, no more mana to keep following. But he does force out the Urgot Flash.
Yeah, so I mean with the Blackfire Torch, I can kind of understand it, just going that build that Nemesis kind of popularized, which is the Blackfire into Cosmic, just because they do have a lot of melees, so just having that sustained damage as well as having the mobility could be pretty good. I do think it's pretty hard for Syndra this game to actually blow up a squishy, just because unless they're mispositioned, Aphelios and Mel shouldn't really be that far up for her to just full combo. But I can definitely see what you're saying on the just wanting that extra early game damage. But
I was going to get spotted out by that sweeper.
at the end of the day, I think both items are pretty solid here, and there isn't really one right answer.
For sure. You see Adrian able to initially hold this wave, hits the level 6, Mel being able to burn that TP to get back to this lane. Going off the components, I would assume Efron is going to go for that Blackfire's Torch now. Look like he's building those components for his Lost Chapter finally. And Kale is just keeps bleeding minions here, down 30 CS now on both solo laners.
Yeah, I mean for sure. I mean it's so hard for this scale to play. She is 6 now, so now I think she can farm a little bit safer. But this Aphelios is so strong. I mean, he doesn't even have PTA, and he's just doing so much damage on these trades. So it's definitely pretty hard for Kale, but I think Kale is still just trying to scale here, and
Volibear is able to get that ghost out of the Aphelios again. Silent K is just getting gunned down, actually. Aphelios flashing forward with that Conqueror with the ghost as soon as Silent commits his flash out. That just gives Aphelios a free trigger to burn his forward, knowing that with that ghost still running, that he is in no threat of getting ran down by the Volibear. We see TK going in, but most of the damage is negated by that Braum shield. See Efron taking a trade into Feathers. Feathers dashing forward, but not able to connect.
yeah, I mean you can see the value out of this ghost for Think Pickle as well as the early boots rush. He has so much movement speed. I mean, this Volibear hasn't even finished his tier 1 boots yet. And so he has really not a lot of movement speed outside of his Q movement speed, and he just got completely ran down. And this Aphelios is so strong right now, farming at almost like 9 CS per minute and having that kill on the board. I mean, he's going to be a real threat later.
Yeah, I think this is starting to see the dividends of like trying to get that early level 2 gank on the Volibear. Not taking your Q, even though you traded out, you kind of murdered your own tempo doing it. To where you kind of set yourself immediately behind. We see the TK going in. Chromolone just playing forward into this Mel, knowing she doesn't have the reflect. And they're just brawling it out. The TK ult comes down. Caitlyn is getting 8. Flashes out the ignite. Mel ult comes down. Chrome with the barrier. Zoss comes out onto the TK as well as the Glacial Fissure from Braum. And they're able to walk that out, but they are hurting.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think that's pretty positive for for RAWR. This Galen is being forced to base and miss another wave, and this Smell has a pretty casual, almost 30 CS lead on this Caitlyn, and so I think she's overall pretty happy right now in lane.
Yeah, for the side of RAWR. I mean, all of your scaling champs are kind of sitting pretty. Even the Urgot kind of initially getting bullied out in lane by the Syndra is still kept up in farm. Syndra, though, is on both her components. Hopefully looking to finish that first item. Feathers, though, gets grabbed. The hit on Samurai. Samurai forced to burn the flash.
Yeah, I mean, overall, everything kind of going RAR's way. I mean, the technical like worst matchup for in this lane swap, the Urgot is honestly pretty even with. I mean, I think he may have lost like a plate, but at the end of the day, he is pretty. Like, I mean, he's even in farm and actually ahead of this Kale because this Kale was so down in farm. But
See Chrome able
and
to dodge the missile dive.
And even though this has been a pretty slow game in terms of kills, I mean, you can see that that is a 3K gold lead.
You see Volibear able to get that smite. Rek'Sai in that ult, going on to Silent. Silent trying to force onto the Philios. Philios is just running and gunning. Syndra is here though. Caitlyn ult's coming out. TK flash forward. The Mel reflect on the ace in the hole. Instinct Pickle is able to just walk out of that again. Syndra just not having enough burst without that completed item. Now Caitlyn just kind of getting ran at by this TK. He might be looking for the angle. Guy's gonna commit that abyssal dive forward, but is way too far out of range. And I think if you're side of RAR, even though you did give up that kill to the Volibear into that Rek'Sai, I think you're happy enough with that trade. Aphelios coming out now. 202 collector in inventory. I think you're more than happy with that fight.
Yeah, but one thing I do want to kind of say for that's honestly pretty good for TFF is we both know just how hard TFF's comp does scale into the game with the Syndra, with the Kale, with the Caitlyn one because once Caitlyn gets 3 items, she just does 1,000 damage per crit. And they have the first 2 drags, which means that they do not have to worry about any threat with this gold lead from RAR for a Dragon Soul, and have a lot of time on their hands to scale before they get into these really big objective fights. They can give up a lot of these dragons if they have to, and just kind of scale up into the game.
You're not wrong, and Feathers there kind of catching the brunt of a bad trade on a Volibear gank. Obviously, Volibear's pretty far behind on these camps to that Rek'Sai, so kind of just playing on component garage sale at the moment is not packing a ton of oomph behind that bite. But as we keep going, this Caitlyn is catching more and more waves. Is starting to scale, obviously still a pretty big sizable CS lead down on the Mel, but Mel is running low on mana here. Volibear is in the bot side with that Stormbringer. They could maybe look to force a fight here. They have the angle. TK's going in. Volibear ult's committed. Braum ult. Volibear flash, and they're just beating on this catfish. The exhaust comes down. The trap's out. The ignite goes on to Caitlyn. And the Mel is able to walk out unscathed, but we see Feathers is now rotating. They may be looking for a Mel ult into the Urgot ult here. We see Moist Kings also mid, trying to put pressure on the scale. The Caitlyn ult does catch Urgot ult. Thankfully, Braum is able to get in front of that Mel Q to stop that execute from coming through.
Yeah, and I mean overall pretty good play from TFF getting that pick onto the Tom Kench and playing really well with the Fog of War, and but looks like Singbiggle's going in.
Yeah, he knows the guns he has. He wants to play forward, able to get that solo kill on Volibear in his own jungle, only having to burn, and we're just seeing he walks forward. Syndra rotates, the ults come out from both the Kale and the Syndra, and they're able to actually punish this Aphelios for just burning these summoners in their face. Yes, the champion's strong and it deals a lot of damage, but you are a bit of a glass cannon, not having the utility of a support playing with you as a mid laner. So if you can out stat check most champions, you can play that aggressive, but at the end of the day, you're not out stat checking 3 champions.
Yeah, I mean really good play from Singpickle. You can tell he's really comfortable on this champion, but I think he was just feeling himself a little bit too hard on this Aphelios. He was going really really aggressive, and just ended up getting it was still a 1-for-1, but getting a bit punished for going a little too crazy. When
Yeah.
he is still playing an 80 carry at the end of the day, even if it is mid lane or top lane.
Yeah, and just looking at the way these fights are going, we see the side of RAWR just kind of getting a little ADHD brained, kind of starting these random fights without a real reason to take them. Rek'Sai trying to force a play mid, I think able to get the Syndra flash in their last engage. They rotate Urgot back topside, just trying to keep vision on this Herald. But this bot lane's just kind of perma pushing with this Mel into the Caitlyn. Just trying to keep making this AD carry drop wave after wave and just playing the battle of attrition, trying to whittle down this first turret. Maybe we see the Aphelios rotating bot lane as well. They could possibly look to make a dive on this Caitlyn, but I think it'd be hard. Efron's here, hits the scatter of the week, trying to stun up the TK. The stun comes through, Volibear Q, and that catfish is cooked. They do need to be careful here. Their Syndra ult was used. They don't have a great burst tool to try to get on Stink Pickle, but Volibear is getting caught, getting slowed and rooted by that grab until Stormbringer comes out. There is no damage to block that ace in the hole from Caitlyn. Rek'Sai does use the ult to come forward. Braum with the flash forward Q, and Volibear is able to get that Thundering Strikes onto him. And then we see TFF now starting up this drag.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge fight for TFF getting another really good pick onto this Tom Kench. Sure, he does have a hard seal, he's pretty tanky, but it's all health at the end of the day, and he can't tank uh 4 members from TFF. And now this is gonna be now they're on soul point for these dragons, and this Cloud Soul
Samurai
is
is getting jumped by
really
Feathers, though.
strong.
The Hail ult has to come down, flashes the Urgot ult, just trying to outspeed him with this red buff. Slow gets tagged by the Q. Braum getting jumped by that Abyssal Dive again, but Volibear is still here. The Syndra on the rotate, playing on this Blast Cone. Volibear sticking on this TK. TK does have the gray health, but still just going to get ran down, and Silent K is on a killing spree on this Volibear.
Yeah, and now that lead that we were talking about early that he had lost off of those early ganks has now been pretty much remedied. I mean, he's now only about 10 CS down, like 2 or 3 camps, and he is I mean, the 4 kills more than makes up for it. And you can start to see that TFF's starting to scale really hard, and this run at you comp is kind of struggling into this Braum Volibear and Syndra.
Yeah, and RAWR, after losing that drag, rotate this Rek'Sai top and just say, hey, we're going to try to swing and take this Rift Herald, maybe try to force a play on 4th drag with it to try to make them choose one, whether to take a drag fight or have to deal with Rift Herald push. Maybe play off a TP2 drag, who knows? Obviously, I think if you're the side of TFF here, I think you keep letting Volibear play with the gas pedal here. Very strong on that Cosmic Drive, getting those double armor cloth armors to help deal with this early Aphelios damage. Rek'Sai and Urgot can now just start scrapping wherever he wants. Volibear with a flash Q. The Braum ult comes down, turn off the turret with the Stormbringer. Aphelios is low, does pop from the exhaust. We see double TPs mid. The Urgot does get here first, and Kale has arrived as well, but both laners not really able to take a fight once they get here.
Yeah, I mean, really good fight from TFF. Just another really good pick, understanding that Aphelios did not have flash yet. So, I mean, if Volibear gets that Q stun off, he can turn off that tower, and it's just a really good kill. And this Aphelios, even though he had that lead, he's starting to kind of struggle, because at the end of the day, he is still an 80 carry, and he gets jumped on, and he just gets blown up.
Yeah, when we see Moist King popping this Rift Herald behind turret, was kind of hoping to get a little bit of a cheeky gank angle, but accidentally walked into the turret before Rift Herald could. Just has to kind of peel off of it. We see Silent K getting kind of jumped by this TK now with Macho here. Macho is on an item and a half now with that torch, and it looks like he's building for that Leandry's next. This Rek'Sai and TK kind of playing with fire. A lot of their gold is still on this Aphelios, and he is not there yet.
Yeah, but a big item spike that RAWR can try to look to get before this next drag fight is this IE that Aphelios is building into. If Aphelios is able to get that IE, he will start doing a ton of damage if left alone. So they have to be pretty careful, as well as this Mel. We haven't really talked about her that much this game, but she is pretty strong right now. Two items and can definitely pump a lot of damage in these fights.
Yeah, the Mel on those double burn items is up about 700, 800-ish gold on her Caitlyn counterpart. Obviously, both bot laners at that 0 deaths, staying pretty disciplined in their positioning in this game so far. The other thing to think about here is that I want to. Oh, we see an engage. Moist King knocking up. TK dives in, gets immediately stunned up by 3 members. The Syndra ult comes out, but is reflected by Mel. Think flashing forward. The Rek'Sai ult comes through to execute the Syndra. Silent K has to be careful here. Half HP, getting Chrome just getting ate alive by this Aphelios. And that Mel ult comes out and just keeps dropping people lower. Moist King chasing the Caitlyn. Luckily, doesn't have to keep going very far, but even worse, the shutdown on Caitlyn goes into the Aphelios because of the turret. That had to be probably the worst case scenario for TFF in this game. When Aphelios takes this back now, he's going to have that IE. I'm pretty sure he's going to have it for, and that RAWR will just look to start this Otacon.
Yeah, but starting Otacon at when Drake is up at 20 seconds could be a bit of a bad play here. I mean, you do get the Otacon buff, but you really don't have a ton that the Otacon buff is buffing, and you really just get the flowers. And if TFF does play their tempo here, they can just get an early tempo onto this dragon and look to maybe see if they can secure it. While all of RAW is in base right now.
Yeah, an important thing to pay attention to, that IE did come through as well as an additional new quiver. This Aphelios is damn near online. Syndra is at that 2-item spike as well, though. Can definitely play to blow him up. Kale, though, opting into a Goonso's rush. I don't love that. I think it's a really good second, third item maybe. But in this game, I don't think she's had enough time to really just stand a free hit. But as we see, RAR with their power spikes, knowing the amount of lead they just got, just walk into that dragon, take it like it's pump change. They know right now TFF does not have the pressure to really fight them unless they get picked.
Yeah, I mean, pretty solid comeback play for RAR. I mean, they're very much back into this game, and the tempo now seems to have fallen from TFF's hands. But it looks like trying to make a play onto the Tom, but it is a tank at the end of the day.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Cosmic Drive Volibear can throw some damage out, but Kale just sitting on that Goonsos doesn't have any real stats behind it. She may be trying to take a base here soon to finish Nashers by the looks of it, but decides to hold off and just keep catching mid waves. But we see Moist King flashing forward on Chrome. Chrome catching the Urgot ult. Does get the trap on the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai ult comes through as well. They're able to get Moistening on a killing spree on this Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I mean, good play from Moisting. I mean, your AD carry is top lane by himself. Might as well just capitalize and get that nice flash unburrow and just secure a nice little kill for themselves. As yeah, RAR seems to have really despite being the early game comp, has really started to come back in this mid game.
For sure, definitely off the back of the Aphelios mid pick, just being able to take over some of these fights. Obviously, just weren't tracking how much damage he was doing and then blew a lot of cooldowns trying to catch other members, and he was just able to pull up. Another thing to keep track of here, Aphelios did just burn that ghost, trying to force Volibear out of his jungle. Not really able to get any value out of it. I think he may have took the Gromp from him, but I think even if you're Volibear, it sucks getting kind of chunked out of your own jungle. But being able to trade Aphelios Ghost for your Gromp, I feel like it's a pretty even trade at this point.
Yeah, most definitely for sure. I mean, this Volibear is at this point not gonna get much stronger. I mean, he's at his two items, and it's gonna be pretty hard for him to be able to keep farming up and getting some more gold on his plate. But the Baron is now spawned, so I wonder if RAWR is gonna look to, with the how powerful this Aphelios is, see if they're gonna be able to force a Baron play here.
Yeah, Adrian just kind of walking into this Braum, playing for these Heartsteel procs, is going to start pumping out the TK. Volibear does just get the jump onto Macho. The ace in the hole comes out. Syndra's absolute power is also popped. Kale TPing in. The Aphelios is not here. If they're going to look for this fight, this is the timer to take it. Moiseking getting the tunnel out, but the Stormbringer comes through the shutdown into the Volibear. And now TFF can either play for Baron or play for this mid-wave. Syndra going to match this Aphelios. Has to be careful. There is not a lot of kill threat when you don't have that ult. But we see TFF just immediately rotating to this Baron.
Yeah, I mean, really good flank from Silent K. Clearly, they didn't really have much vision on that bot side of the map, and they were able to capitalize it with that volley, getting a really good stun onto the Mel. And once that, I mean, the Mel, she doesn't have any mobility, so she just got completely blown up. And now this game feels super tense and super close, as even though RAR has that 3K gold lead still, it feels like it's just gonna come down to execution in these fights. These fights have been so close.
You're not wrong. Also, other things to keep track of. This Aphelios is yet to build a defensive item. Maybe this Noon Quiver ends up being a shield bow. If I was him, it would probably be my go-to here. Obviously playing into the Syndra. Syndra's passive has to be about maxed out at this point, as well as building into that death cap. This Syndra ult, if you're anywhere near half HP, is just going to execute you. And unless TK is really paying attention, is also stops death ball fighting in the front line, it's going to be hard to live it. Even now, we see Aphelios does actually get that shield bow through. But still, you have to play very disciplined here. I get the healing from Conquer. Does give you a little bit of a beefcake thing, but we see the Volibear now going in on Urgot. And Urgot hits the Q and is able to kite out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Urgot is pretty tanky. I mean, he's kind of just been farming, but he kind of hasn't really been very
Volibear, holy, the Kale also kept letting the Volibear just keep going. Urgot does flash. Kale's holding the turret aggro though. They're able to swing this game again. Rek'Sai and TK staying on for the drag while just getting these super waves pushed. And Rek'Sai now trying to look for an angle onto Syndra as they're just losing their base. If TFF really try here, they could possibly look for an end. There's not a ton of damage other than this Mel, and respectfully, the Mel has not done a ton of these games. Kale just free hitting down this TK right now. The Grey health comes out. Rome. Ooh, and Kale does catch a couple too many skill shots. Got champion 2025 on a little bit.
Yeah, Kale just getting a little bit too greedy, but I mean, you can see now. I mean, she is very strong at 3 items with the Rift Maker, Ginsu's, and the Nashers. And then I'm assuming this is now going into a Rylai's with that Giant's belt. I mean, she's going to be a pretty big threat in this game, and it's going to be pretty difficult for them to deal with the Kale at this point, as well as this Syndra almost now has the Rabadons completed. I mean, there's a lot of item spikes. I think the only real big item spike that they're waiting on now is this Caitlyn finishing out that what I'm assuming is LDR. And TFF has scaled. They just haven't been able to secure that Drake Soul yet.
Yeah, I think an important thing to think about here is the fact that Silent was able to force out that flash from this Aphelios. Syndra sitting on both their summoners. Caitlyn, both summoners. Poodle on that Braum, still holding that exhaust and flash. There's a world if Stink Pickle steps too far up that Syndra QE just gets ripped. And if that doesn't kill, the exhaust is coming out. We see Silent K looking to get the engage though. The immediate TP from Mel to try to protect it. Braum forced to flash out from the Rek'Sai engage as well. And right now we're seeing kind of the fear in the eyes of RAWR here, worried about flipping it one more fight. Silent going in on the Urgot. Feathers just getting ate by that Syndra ult, but we see Rek'Sai going in on Poodle and Chrome. Chrome getting chunked out. The Mel ult comes out. The Rek'Sai ult executes. But we see Islamic Samurai out here dropping the KO ult on the Volley Bear. Moist King 1 HP. Efron untouched, but now Stink Pickle in the top side playing with double his best combo guns for this fight. Syndra whiffs the stun. Kale is now looking, but gets tagged by the TK knockup. Syndra just misses the combo, but that Heartsteel proc is up and available. And TK gets the lick.
Yeah, I mean, really good fight for RAR. I mean, the Tom Kench, I think, getting a double knockup onto the bot lane of TFF, and I mean that was a really good fight. For RAR. I mean, these fights have been so neck and neck, but I mean, you didn't have your Kale there, and there was RAR was all 5 bot lane, and Kale was trying to get that a good split push going and get that threat, but RAR takes the fight and is able to and TFF not respecting the fact that they're at a man disadvantage, ends up having a pretty favorable fight for RAR, and I mean that's another pretty big swing in the game.
Yeah, and I think if you're the side of TFF here, you need to remember who these cooldowns are for. We see early on in that fight, the Syndra ult immediately ripped to try to pull Feathers down. Respectfully, Feathers is 0 and 2 without a shred of MR. I think if you're Syndra here, especially playing this Blackfire build, you're almost 4 items. If you need ult to kill him, he better be the only person in that fight. Otherwise, you need to save R for this Aphelios. He is the biggest op on this team right now. If he does not die early in these fights get incredibly difficult for you. But we also see now RAR just looking to possibly start this Baron off the rip. They see the Syndra not there. Syndra does have TP, but do they get vision? They rip through this Baron fast, and it is already down. Caitlyn is really far ahead. Silent maybe looking to catch them rotating on the Caitlyn. Stink Pickle is pulling that base, but I don't think they know it yet.
Yeah, I mean Stink Pickle's now at 100% crit and 4 items. He is so strong coming into the Shake fight, but I think Tom might be playing a little bit too close to the sun. But as he ended up not not getting punished for that, and it looks like TFF's just giving this Drake. I mean, they were just completely running away here, and I think they're just saying, hey, this isn't their soul. We just want to give this Drake. We don't want to take a fight right now.
Yeah, maybe trying to feel a little bit more comfortable on that next hail item spike. Trying to play for Caitlyn, also finishing that LDR here soon. They are both pretty close. Caitlyn sitting on 1400, Kale sitting on another 400, but has the 2 most expensive components for that Rylai's, but she's still a decent chunk off. Caitlyn actually does just now finish that LDR and extra longsword on top. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if you've got the time to try to stall this game out for this Kale's next item. She is strong enough on her own now. Going to be approaching that level 18 point here soon.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing with TFF is they need to be playing with as a group. They have been for a couple of these fights that RAR is winning. They are just getting good picks onto the back line, and then Aphelios is able to carry the fight from there. And I think that if you're the side of TFF, you just got to make sure to not get caught like that, because I do think they still win up the front to back pretty hard with that Kale and with that Kaylin and Syndra damage. But I mean, RAR utilizing this Baron, just understanding, hey, like with Baron, we just wanted to get all these side lane towers, get these gold in our pocket, and I mean, they're feeling pretty happy right now. It seems.
Okay, finding the engage onto the TK. Urgot is here though, being able to buff up, and Brawmalt coming down to hopefully stall a little bit of that damage. TFF, I'm not going to lie, they look a little lost just trying to survive this initial Baron siege. I'm not quite sure what their comms would be like right now. Obviously, still missing a couple crucial cooldowns on the side of TFF. Syndra without the flash, Caitlyn without the flash, but they are coming back soon. Another really important thing to think about is this Aphelios. Both Flash and Ghost are primed and ready. this next fight could be their last if this Aphelios doesn't get blown up in these fights and is able to kite out with this 100% crit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, TFF's carries are strong, but I mean, they do like if they're not able to kill the Aphelios, I mean, I think Aphelios will just shred through them. I mean, he's so much stronger than their Caitlyn right now. Up like almost a full item.
Oh, silent. Not sure what we're flashing, brother. I saw the vision, saw the dream. It just sadly did not come to fruition.
Yeah, but that's a major cooldown for that engage onto the Felios, not having the flash stun instant CC. So now they're gonna have to rely on maybe getting a good scatter of the week from Syndra, and it's gonna be pretty hard to touch the Aphelios.
Here we see Kale did just finish that Rylai's finally. Not quite sure what they're going for this last item. I'd say the pretty standard option here is Death Cap, but this build has been anything but standard so far, so I'm going to wait to see if another component comes out. If you're Samurai here, you might just have to just sit with a blue pot in inventory, but actually opting to just go an Amp Tone, whether they're playing more for pen or more of a utility item in this last slot, not overly sure, but
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think we will ever find out because I think one fight in this game is over. So for either team, to be honest, I think regardless of which team wins this next team fight, it's going to be decided. I mean, everyone's now about level 18. These death timers are going to be about like 50 plus seconds or more. So I think this next fight, I'm assuming it's going to be around this dragon spawning in 1 minute. I think it's going to be the deciding factor into how we're going to who's going to win. So I think just getting that amp tome is just going to be that last little boost in in the damage before the fight.
yeah, and going with the setup for these teams, obviously Urgot getting that pressure topside, having that TP to be able to respond, just to make Kale constantly flush these waves. Syndra taking that recall, buying that last needlessly large rod, just trying to be as strong as possible for this next fight. Kale also taking another base, maybe looking to upgrade this amp tone to a different component. See, Moist King does
Yeah.
get initially chunked out.
I do want to quickly point out, look at this vision control from the side of RAWR on this bot side of the map. I mean, they have full control of this bot side, so I think that TFF's only real option is to enter through mid, and they'd be entering blind because I mean, this you can see RAR has full control of the jungle right now. I mean, this map is completely dark for the side of TFF.
You're not wrong, but TFF just kind of saying, hey, we're fine fighting you, but you play on our side. You play into us. Just opting to try to just take this mid lane shove. The TK does jump in. Feathers is on the backside here on the volley bear. Moist King gets the kill onto the Syndra. Silent K just gets gunned down by the Aphelios. Feathers popped out. Derek's is popped. Samurai fighting for his life. Does not have the ult for himself, and they do just get wiped by this Aphelios. But there are no waves. Baron is up. Death timer's at 40 seconds. But we're not looking for an end. We're just looking for Baron here.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that their backline kind of kited in this game was really a tough angle because Kale and Kalen were on the wrong side of the wall, and as a result, they were able to just get collapsed on, as well as Syndra just getting blown up by Rek'Sai. And I mean, this is looking like a free inhibit, maybe even a tower for this Urgot. I don't think he'll be able to finish off that tower, but they're just gonna get two inhibs, which is gonna be with that Baron, which is gonna mean a pretty tough siege.
Yeah, Syndra immediately just ripping the ult onto that Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai getting ate by the TK. Rek'Sai going for the dive onto Efron. Gets the knockup, gets the ult. And that may be the game here. And that is what it will be. Moist King getting that initial engage onto that turret. And RAR opens the series 2-0 into TFF.
Yeah, I mean, really, really well played game from RAR as we now, I mean, Stink Pickle putting up a monstrous performance, 36k damage on this Aphelios mid. I mean, you said it before this game that he was very comfortable on the champion, and it showed. I mean, playing with so much confidence, and as a result, a pretty back and forth game. But once we got to those mid to late game team fights, I felt like RAR just executed them a little bit cleaner, and was able to pick up that win.
Yeah, now if you're on the side of TFF, you've got to go into this game three just kind of facing down the barrel of a season-ending game. Do you go back to blue side? Do you stay on red side? I think it's a little hard here. I think some bans need to be switched. I get the Ziggs. The Ziggs pick sucks to deal with, but respectfully, we're not dealing with Rek'Sai well. Please get this champion out of the game. Um, I think keeping the Mel ban is also a good thing to look at here. I feel like this team, RAR, tends to just play Mel bot as a way to unlock Aphelios mid to work, so that way their damage charts don't get a little skewed. Or maybe you just say, hey, we're going to get rid of the Aphelios now, and then leave you your crop of APCs and just bait them into a heavy AP comp, and maybe just pick an early MR stacking tank in the top lane. Just say, hey, you can counter pick it. The lane might suck, but at 2, 3 items, 3/4 of your team does not do damage to me. I'll be fine. Maybe that'll be their angle. But we'll have to get in the next draft to see. What?
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see. I mean, this um I feel like if you're TFF, you're coming in with one mindset. How do we shut down this mid laner? Both games he has been a complete menace to them, just killing their backline on Akali, or just pumping out insane amounts of damage on the Aphelios. I feel like you need to be able to have some way to shut him down, with whether it's some good dive threat with maybe like a Vi or something. I think it'll be pretty. It's gonna be that's gonna be your main goal here. I think yes, the APC ball lanes can be pretty frustrating for Chrome Alone and I think it's Poodle bot lane, but um I think at the end of the day, the biggest threat has just been this mid laner just doing a really good job in these fights, just shutting down the team of TFF.
Yeah, he has definitely been putting in the work in these games. TFF opting into red side for game three again. I will say I think they played a much more controlled. It was a much closer game when they were on red side than the game one where they were on blue. Um, but we will have to see if some of these bans switch up for this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does make sense for them to go on red. They don't really have a contested early pick that they really want blue side for. So getting the counter pick top lane, getting the counter pick overall with the red side, I think is probably better for them as a team, since I mean they none of their picks so far have been really super contested by RAR.
Yeah, I think giving yourself a, I don't want to say a lane bully mid laner, but a safe scaling champ that's not going to fall off. I think Syndra was a good option. Obviously, if you can't suss out that early lane swap, you lose a lot of power in what that Syndra Phyllis lane was supposed to be. Um, that does kind of suck to have to deal with. But at the end of the day, maybe you just have to play early vision a little bit different. See if you can see it earlier. Communicate with your top laner to get that swap in if you can, to get those lanes so that Kale's not just getting starved out for so long in that early game. But again, Islamic Samurai, is just having that R5. Don't get me wrong, I think Kale's an okay pick there, but Urgot is late game. Urgot is most of the times going to get value from that fear beyond death. Even if he's not killing you, they drafted enough damage to be able to trade out for the different members of that team. And at the end of the day, Kale can only ult one target. Um, but just taking that Kale early,
Yeah.
even if they didn't lane swap, is just making a bit of a black hole in top side for just a lack of any agency.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that um the Kale pick was pretty good overall, but I think just like the Aphelios lane swap kind of made it so Kale was pretty behind, and then as a result, I mean, they just weren't able to really translate the scaling into these fights. Are doing a really good job of finding these plays onto the back line and just blowing them up, or just finding playing really well as a team and punishing TFF. And so I think coming into this draft, we're just gonna have to really see how we can end up put like solving that issue.
Yeah, and we're getting into this draft for game 2 now. RAR keeping that Mordekaiser off the table. TFF mixing it up, choosing to get rid of that Aphelios, like we were just talking about, trying to force them onto maybe that heavy AP comp that, as well as the Amumu
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
out.
I think that's overall a pretty good play. I also wouldn't be surprised to see that Mel being taken away. I think Mel Rek'Sai are your best bands. As yep, there's what you have been asking for. Getting rid of that Rek'Sai, making it so RAR has to play something else in the jungle. And I wonder if they're gonna get rid of the Ziggs or the Mel here. I'm not sure which one they think is worse for them, but nope, just looking like the Mel. So taking away all three of those picks means that we're probably going to see something different out of RAR this game.
And now, what is your first pick priority? Go if you they're probably safest blind they could go here is just running back that Ziggs, turning the bot lane into a stalemate again. What the champion's known for, but instead we see the Swain flex on B1 again. We saw game 1 RAR with that 3-way or 4-way flex of it, ended up putting it in the support role. I will admit I am a Swain support hater. I think it's really bad, but if it just gets given the opportunity to play into a low damage comp, especially in early game, it can kind of thrive. We see the answer into it immediately. Looks to me the
Yeah.
Seraphine and
Yeah, very curious to see where this Swain ends up going. I mean, I do agree. The biggest counter to Swain is just picking these comps that can just kind of blow him up, picking like a really strong high damage AD carry or something, just being able to kind of shred him down. But I do think that Swain is a really slept on pick, especially in AD carry right now. I think it's not really played a lot, but I think it's really strong. But TFF looking to opt into more of like a scaling team here with the Smolder Seraphine.
yeah, and I don't know if anyone else on the side of TFF plays the Smolder or if this is just kind of a bot lane pick. I know there was some talks about there being some Smolder buffs. I don't know if they did end up making it through PBE or not, but we immediately see the Sivir as the answer into the Smolder, just saying, "Hey, I know you want to play stalemate on wave and try to stack that Q, but I'm gonna say no, and I'm just gonna delete the wave in your face and have fun stacking under your turret."
Yeah, but I mean, this does make it so that Swain is either going mid or support here, and Feather's logging in Urgot for a third game in a row. Really liking this pick, and I mean, I don't blame him. It's been doing work all three games. Hasn't really been punished.
Yeah, TFF. Maybe you go for like an Olaf here, a Yone, Renekton, something that can actually beat this champion in lane. The Camille is available. I know it was banned, I think, game 1, and Bessa is up. We see the Shyvana locked in on 3.
All right, Storm. How hype would it be? Game three down 0-2 if they run the Dragon comp and bring in the A Soul here for that 3 Dragon comp. That'd be kind of hype.
It would be hype. I am 100% if they doing it mispronouncing their name for the rest of the stream from TFF to TFT, but it is what it is. I'm curious to see if this is actually going to be Shyvana jungle or if they maybe look into some dark tech and pull out the Shyvana top. It is not a super common pick, but it absolutely beats the brakes off any champion that just wants to stack HP items, as the champion just has built-in max HP damage, and it's unironically a really good bruiser top into these comps that aren't hyper mobile.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be very interesting if they actually end up taking the show on the top. I have played it a couple times, and it honestly feels pretty solid, especially if you're building more Bruisery and not just opting for that full AP. But unfortunately, looks like our hopes were were not granted, as I think this is just an Aatrox top lane into the Urgot, and this is just a Shyvana jungle. But I mean, that kind of begs the question: is TFF really pushing too hard on the scaling? I mean, Shyvana's not really well known for her early game, and Smolder Seraphine aren't either, so it can be pretty rough.
Yeah, and we see RAWR answering the Shyvana jungle with a Gwen pick of their own. I would assume this to be Gwen jungle. The champion did get buffed across the board because Riot has 200 years of building experience, and you will never doubt them. But we also see Blind Echo come out in the side of RAR as well. Obviously, I guess you could play a weird flex and play the Gwen mid if you really needed to, but I would assume this to be Echo mid. And we see a possible Silas as the response. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think it's
mean,
the right one, but it's hype.
it's kind of an interesting. I can understand the concept of getting the access to that Echo ulti as Silas can be pretty nice. But and also having the Swain ulti on Silas, I mean that's a very well known counter to Swain, but I can't help but feel a little bit that TFO's comp does kind of lack that early game agency. As I mean, Shyvana, Smolder, and Seraphine really don't have the greatest time pressuring early, and I honestly don't even know if they outscale against the Gwen, Sway, and Sivir. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out.
I think if these teams are able to stay on even ground, I think they can find a ton of value in this Seraphine being able to shield for this triple bruiser front line, being able to stop a lot of the random dive threat of Echo. Another important thing to think about on this Silas pick here is there's honestly not a bad Silas ult here. Gwen ult's a lot of damage. Echo ult's a good safety tool. Urgot giving you an execute. The worst ult you can take here is Sivir, but even when you're in a winning game state, taking Sivir ult is actually really good for Shyvana Aatrox just to be able to run forward through the stream. And that's not even keeping the fact Swain ult's available, which is infamously one of probably Silas's top 5 ults. So I think the Silas pick is definitely really strong in the mid game, but obviously Pickle here has played pretty well every early game here. So it can be definitely hard if the Silas falls behind to really get a lot of value out of these ults.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, this is just going to come down to this mid lane matchup. I imagine Sivir versus Smolder. Not much gonna really happen there unless there's a big blunder from either lane, and they're just going to kind of scale. Urgot versus Aatrox can be pretty volatile, but I think the main point of this game, because both junglers are also looking to kind of farm up and scale, is just seeing if which mid laner ends up pulling ahead in this game off of skirmishes, or maybe even we see a solo kill, because I think either way, regardless of if it's Echo or Silas, if one of them starts rolling, this game can be completely taken over by either of them.
Not wrong. Obviously, going to this game 3, this is match point for the side of RAWR. This is win or go home for the side of TFF. So hopefully after we get done with the spectator delay, we'll get in a game and see how this ends up playing out. We'll see you guys after the break.
Was it all in vain? My world revolved around you, now it's trapped inside the pain. Maybe I should stay in the dark after you had it to a place so far away. Now all those crazy thoughts are going through my mind. A part of me I can't escape. Our love was so sublime. It doesn't make no sense if you're not here again. If the only
Oh, welcome back, everybody. As we're getting into game 3, we see a cheeky little 5-stack from the side of RAWR, maybe trying to suss out another level 1 invade for Vision. But TFF opting into the basic 5-point here are not going to fall for it. Looking at these drafts, looking at this game, obviously RAWR has been more than scrap heavy. Both of these games willing to kind of ego and take a lot of these fights. Um, TFF on the other side did kind of try to take the best of both worlds, giving themselves kind of a skirmishing topside with this triple bruiser topside, while giving themselves scaling and setup with that Smolder Seraphine bot. Obviously, both of these comps do have strong suits. I think an important thing to look at here, the Stink Pickle on that Echo with the Ignite and Electrocute in this early game is going to be able to generate a lot of pressure, as well as this Gwen playing into triple bruisers is going to get maximum efficiency out of that passive.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean both mid laners actually opted into taking no TP, so I'm hoping to see a lot of action in this mid lane matchup. Just see a lot of of scrapping, as I don't imagine a lot's gonna come out of either lane, and I think that mid lane is gonna be definitely the place to watch. As we see a pretty good trade from Stink Pickle here.
Ooh, Swain hits the double root at level 2, knocking the Seraphine down to a couple hundred HP.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, exactly what you're saying is happening, right? Like Silver's just perma shoving this wave, and Smolder. I mean, he can't really stack that well under tower because he has that cooldown on that Q, and as a result, Rar's in a pretty favorable state right now in this bot lane.
Yeah, and Efron and mid opting into these early trades with that Echo can be a little risky. Obviously, with having that Conqueror, you'd really prefer to have your level 3 before you really trade, as well as your trade pattern is a bit quicker than Echo, as long as you're not letting Echo set up that W beforehand. The Efron trying to go aggressive again.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing a lot of scrapping mid lane, and I mean, this bot lane is getting kind of bullied pretty hard by the Swain. Swain doing a really good job hitting these E's. But I mean, the good thing for Efron here is even though the trades haven't been the most favorable, he is sitting at a pretty good mana advantage here, which means that Echo is gonna have to start playing a little bit safer, as he's not gonna have as much resources to really utilize inside of this 1v1.
Yeah, going off that, both of these mid laners opting into the Ignites. Obviously, Echo really wants to be able to cut the healing on that Kingslayer W from the Sylas. Sylas wants to cut the healing on the rewind from Echo. The big point of that, oh, we see the Swain starting to get kind of popped here. Smolder flies forward, knocks him down to a couple HP, but he is able to flash out. Islamic Samurai gets his flash burned by the Gwen as well. And we see both of these teams just scrap after scrap in this early game.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I mean, Poodle doing a really good job hitting that root onto the Swain and forcing out that flash, and what looked like a pretty favorable lane state, and getting rid of a lot of that pressure early game. As yeah, it just looks like people are gonna kind of chill out. I imagine the Sivir is going to take her reset here. Smolder actually having the TP, which means he's going to be able to get into that lane and not miss any of that wave. And I mean, he actually gets the call, so you know this Smolder's trying to just like play for the scaling. Um, and I don't imagine much is gonna really um amount unless we see a little cheeky solo kill mid lane.
Yeah, I definitely think these bot lanes are just gonna sit here and play to bounce waves. Obviously, the Swain is kind of the sore thumb that sticks out here. He's going to look to try to instigate. Echo on first base. Oh, we're switching it. Never mind. Oh, we're switching it again. Brother has Blitz open and does not know what to pick out of the order. Going from the large rod to the tier 2 boots, back to the large rod. Silas, though, taking the alternator, will have a little bit more damage in these short trades. Samurai trading in front of this tower and the Feathers has to be a little careful. And possibly that like flash flip from Feathers.
Yeah, but I mean, Samurai taking 2 turret shots. I mean, he's now pretty close to execute range. This Urgot ulti, I forget the name, is now online, and so he has to be a little bit careful getting low. And you are Aatrox, you have a lot of healing, but once you're in that execute threshold, I mean, there's no real escaping that.
Yeah, this is the what worlds was this like the matchup that was played every topside? The 19? Because it was Fnatic C9, I want to say, that were in like
I
semis
think
when
that
it
was
was getting played.
18.
18.
Yeah, I think that was 18. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, exactly kind of what we were talking about, just teams trading both junglers trading objectives here. I honestly, personally, favor just getting the early game dragons over the grubs. I don't feel like TFF's team really plays that much for the split push. I think so. Having the Drakes, I think, will just favor RAWR at the end of the day.
True, and Chrome playing super aggressive on this Smolder, just stepping up and fighting the Sivir, knocking both of them down. But we see the Gwen popping R. Aatrox brings out the World Ender, trying to chase them off on these grubs. Echo gets the dive. Shyvana ults in. The Gwen ult is stolen by the Sylas. Gwen does get knocked down. Sylas ult is still ripping. Aatrox, though, is not able to get much value in this fight. Just kind of getting forced out here as Echo picks up the double kill. The Islamic Samurai possibly looking to trade here with the Death Stance auto. Gets it out, dodges the Q. And the Islamic Samurai is chilling, but gets flipped by the Urgot at the last second. And the feat of warfare is claimed for the side of RAWR after that skirmish.
Yeah, I mean, such a close fight. I mean, it looked so good at the start for TFF. But unfortunately, just not able to secure the team fight win. And actually, a little bit interesting is something I'm noticing just now. The Ajax has opted to rush the Merc treads here, which I can't help but find a bit strange. I don't really feel like they have enough CC to warrant getting it so early, especially when it doesn't benefit your lane. So I mean, what do you think as the top laner in the call here, Storm?
I think you are playing into the champion that gets absolutely neutered by steel caps and just said, fuck it, I don't need them. As well as Gwen is also insanely auto attack reliant. Echo has a lot of burst in his auto attacks. I mean, sure, the MR helps for a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, you're not buying Merc Treads just because of resist. You're getting it for that tenacity, and really the only real CC you're dealing with in this game is Swain Grab and Echo W. And respectfully, if you're getting hit by Echo W at any point in time in an early lane phase of Aatrox, you probably deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, also if I mean, reducing that 2.5 second stun to 2 seconds isn't exactly the greatest benefit.
Not wrong.
But yeah, I think it's a little interesting. I'm assuming with these items, he's looking to go maybe like a Sundered Sky Rush. And I mean, I mean, Feathers has done the same thing every single game. I'm assuming he is rushing that Black Cleaver.
Yeah, and Stink
Uh,
Pickle able to catch a roam, even with his wave being crashed, is kind of a bad timer, but does get that flash out of Poodle. Chrome opting onto that TP on the Smolder. We haven't talked about that much yet, but is able to just rip that back, come back to lane. Chrome could look to take an aggressive flight onto the Swain just to try to force the ult, but he does have to be careful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Seraphine now does not have flash. I mean, that being forced can give them a pretty good angle in these fights. Seraphine, I mean, she is kind of a sitting duck when she doesn't have flash and she gets caught. So, I mean, that is definitely a play that they can make with Echo or with like a random Swain. I mean, Seraphine has her ulti and her root, but I mean, she doesn't really have any way to really peel herself outside of that CC.
Yeah, and we see Echo is opting into this Lichbane rush. Silas going for that rocket belt does get the item completion first, just due to the nature of his item is just cheaper. But we saw Gwen also tried playing for a cheeky lane gank on bot lane, not able to really find anything. Urgot is playing for that Fear Beyond Death. Islamic Samurai just doesn't break the W range on Urgot and ends up just getting solo boloed in the top lane, as well as losing an entire wave for it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see this is kind of the power of Feathers not opting to buy the boots early. I mean, sure, you do have a little bit of more movement speed, but you're losing out on so much of that damage. Feathers having the Phage and the pickaxe, whereas I think at the time, Islamic Samurai only had like a long sword, I think it's what it's called, a glowing moat, and a ruby crystal. So I mean, just not really having that as much damage on the board means that he can just get easily solo killed if he opts into that 1v1.
Yeah, obviously, this is very much a skill matchup in the top side. This is not a heavy one-sided type of lane. This usually does kind of turn into who gets ahead stays ahead. And right now, Aatrox sitting on a kind of component yard sale, whereas this Urgot already has a full cleaver, full Swifty boots. It is going to be really hard for this Aatrox by himself to really start fighting back in this lane again. But Chrome is able to step up, keep trading into the Swain, which could be really bad for the side of RAWR. You really don't want to keep taking random little small trades into this Smolder, especially early in the game. But we see it, Shyvana pulls out the ult form, gets jumped on by Echo. Gwen ult does get burned trying to take a peek at these grubs. And Silent is just getting caught. No, not respecting the fact he does not have priority in his top side of the map.
Yeah, and I mean you can also see that Silent is opting to go a pretty squishy and unorthodox build right now for the Shyvana, opting to rush the Nashor's Tooth. I wonder what he's actually opting to build, because I think right now the AP build is just going like Shojin into Leandries. But looks like Islamic Samurai is going to be able to get out, but
Efron just trading ults. This Gwen is mid, does not have the ult, but is able to force out that flash from the Silas. Seraphine ult does get ripped bot lane. Sivert opting just to flash out of it. They are just trying to slam Macho down. Do get the barrier out as well. Urgot is just munching away with that W on that turret. Smolder flying forward. He has to be careful. Swain is here. No mana on the Swain. The spell shield comes out. Swain Death Grasp does connect. And they all, but Silent K is also fighting topside on this Urgot. Urgot all whiffs and they get the shutdown. Sadly, it looks like Smolder is going to drop to the Swain. There's no heal cut in the lane. Gwen is running. Looks like Seraphine is going to drop as well. Adrian tries giving it to Gwen, but has to take it when she realizes that she's not going to get in range. That's a big gold swing on both sides of the map. Starting to put some gold back into your Aatrox, but on the other end, TFF kind of flying too close to the sun, taking a fight without vision, not knowing where people are at, is risky and could end up biting them in this lane and bot. We see Echo diving on Aatrox now, just trying to force him off this top tier 1, not looking for a full commit. Obviously doesn't have that ignite. Aatrox with that grasp is pretty tanky even when he's sitting on these components. But Aatrox is greeting this top wave as well. He could look to just get turned on here by Echo if he gets spotted.
yeah, I mean overall I think just Smolder not really realizing how Swain was back on the map and was running back to lane and ended up looking for that flash Q, but the Silver Spell Shield ended up stopping the hopes of getting that cheeky solo kill. But I mean, at the end of the day, a good kind of a good thing is that this Smolder
Ooh,
is
Echo.
stacking a lot here.
We see Islamic Samurai in some trouble. Stink Pickle flash with the Echo E forward. Ends up just diving Islamic Samurai. Just holds the flash. No reason in using. He's stuck between a Gwen and an Echo. We see Chrome now stepping up to start trading back into this bot lane. I am curious how many stacks we are at for this Smolder now. Sitting at 113 at 16 minutes is not a bad pace. He is going to have that AoE splash back here sooner than later, which could make for a real issue. Also looks like he's possibly opting into more of like a full crit build with the second BF sword. I can't say I've seen it, but I haven't really paid attention to very many Smolder builds recently. See if he's
Yeah,
possibly going Reaver into
this
IE.
is this is the new Smolder build that people are running because they now have made it so that Smolder Q does actually get affected by IE, and so it is a pretty solid option. As ooh, looks like
The Seraphine ult just rips through. The Shyvana is able to catch. The Silent K gets the burn. Trade onto the Sivir. Holy Chrome. You were getting a little giga chunked by that turret. Chrome now has the backup. He is in execute range of the Urgot ult, but it goes
ooh.
wide. You do need to be careful. Echo is here, no flash, but does have the snapback.
Yeah, Chrome playing with a bit of fire, able to dodge that Urgot ultimate, but is able to get out. And I mean, that's a pretty solid play for TFF. However, they were chunked enough to where they do have to give away the streak, and this now means that RAWR is on that soul point. And I know this point didn't end up mattering in the second game, but I mean that is pretty scary when you're playing against this Gwen and this Urgot and this Swain. The Ocean Soul is really terrifying in these fights. I mean, all that healing, it's going to be pretty tough for them to deal with that later if they're not able to get enough damage to really cut through all of that healing, even with heal cut.
Yeah, and that's another thing to keep track of. There is no heal cut in this game right now. Seraphine opting into a full heal, Echoes of Helia. Smolder is not really going to be able to opt into it until at least this third item. And if I had to take a guess, he probably really needs rapid fire in this game as well. So it's going to be hard. He's going to have to just kind of sit on that cut component for a bit. But there's good healing numbers from at least 3. Will eventually probably end up being 4 members once you count Sivir Shield, as well as the fact she'll probably get some healing in her kit naturally. But you're going to have to opt into it soon, otherwise you're not going to kill Swain
Who
through that
could
ult.
never move
Not going to
from
cut.
Adrian.
Yeah. We see Silas kind of just taking trades with Echo. The Shamana is bot, as well as Gwen playing on the red buff. They're trying to camp this Echo's ult. Efron might just flash forward and Echo ult back to catch him. That's what he does. The Q goes wide, the Ignite comes out, and Silas gets the shutdown on Echo.
Yeah, I mean, good cross map play on the side of TFF, able to get the shutdown on that Echo, and the Silas is actually pretty dang strong right now, looking like he's opting for that Cosmic Drive. That's honestly probably my preferred Silas build right now, as the CDR is so nice, especially against these bruiser champions. And I mean, overall a pretty even game all things considered, but I mean, I just want to point out that this Smolder is, he's scaling and he is a ticking time bomb for the side of RAR. And if they're not able to use this Echo Pick to find a easy one shot onto this Smolder, I mean, Smolder Execute will just shred through their team.
Yeah, their only saving grace in these late game team fights is going to be the fact that Echo can just kind of save himself from the execute, as well as Gwen can dodge out a lot of damage. But the Nevergrasp does catch the Smolder, but the Seraphine Encore comes out. Shyvana's in. They're fighting the Gwen. Gwen W comes down, but does immediately pop back out. Both top laners TP's expended to try to make the fight stall out. Sivir gets caught by the chains of Aatrox, forcing the flash again. And if you're on the side of TFF, you're 100% okay with that. The gold swings about 800 your way. Major cooldowns forced out on a lot of carries on the side of RAWR. And right now, at 8 and 7, you're only down a kill. Sure, the drag priority kind of sucks to deal with, but you've got a dragon of your own, and it's not a neutral objective. We see now Echo getting in on the Seraphine, forcing the Seraphine flash. Echo committing to the dive, being able to blow up. Seraphine does have to ult out. Sylas is on his face, but luckily the rest of the team is there, as well as Rift Herald. Now does RAWR look for this tier 2? Shyvana close to that ult, but is 200 HP getting caught by the Fear Beyond Death from Urgot. You've got to play safer, brother. We see Sylas able to take the ult, can look for his own angle here, throws it, does not get into anybody important or low. Unfortunate. Gwen now able to just rip away this entire blue side from the Shyvana. And as soon as we try to commend TFF for making a good play, they knock it out of the park, throwing it back the other side.
Yeah, I mean it was overall pretty good play from RAR Gwen using the needle. Actually, didn't even use the needle work on the Shyvana in the jungle, and is so much stronger of a dueling champion than Shyvana is, especially with this build that's more of like a poke build. And as a result, they're able to just get the Shyvana low enough to get that Fear Beyond Death. And I mean now coming into this Drake, it feels like TFF's kind of on the back burner, but getting a pretty good
Now Pickle
chunk
going
here.
in. Seraphine ult comes out. Both Swain ults are running. Ephron taking it away. Swain down to 1 HP. Immediately is popped. Sivir now trying to trade onto the Smolder is into that hunt, but getting ran down by the Shyvana. Shyvana E goes wide. Ephron is low here. Fear Beyond Death from Urgot will kill both, and it's now up. He is in the chains. Aatrox still full HP, but cannot help fight out. Echo still here, still has R. Islamic Samurai is kind of in no man's land here, trying to fight out, see if he can at least trade the Echo ult, and it comes through, but so does the Aatrox kill. And just like that, Dragon Soul should go to the side of RAWR. There's no real contest here. Silent still dead for 15. Urgot and Sivir should be able to rip through this in time.
Yeah, and that just felt like TFF getting a little bit greedy. The start of that fight was so good. Poodle with a really clutch Seraphine ulti, and they had so much burst on that Swain. The Swain ended up going down, but it just felt like they kept chasing, and then once once the Urgot got to the fight, they were just able to sandwich and turn, and all of a sudden the fight went from being a pretty good win for TFF and probably possibly a stop at the soul. They ended up I feel like the greed ended up costing them that fight, and now that's an Ocean Soul for RAR, and that's gonna be make it killing that Urgot, killing that Swain, killing that Gwen that much harder.
Yeah, and we see Sylas actually did not opt into that Cosmic Drive second, opting into the Lich Bane actually. Just trying to outburst Echo in these fights. I don't love it, but I get it. You're just trying to play a higher damage build. Maybe not give Gwen as much of a sustained fight that she wants. But you do have to
Yeah.
play on a much thinner line now, just due to the fact how squishy you are without any of that base HP.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're gonna opt into that build, I personally am much more of a fan of just getting the Shadow Flame. But I can definitely understand, as it looks like Adrian might be caught
Oh, as
here.
we see Seraphine is jumped by the Urgot. Swain ult's ticking, Needlework's coming out, and the Smolder is ripped to his death into that grinder. And now RAR can look to start this Baron if they want, but Sylas and Shyvana are trying to pressure this mid wave now. And it just
Yeah,
looks
I
like
mean,
RAR's choose to take the Otacon instead.
Yeah, and I mean you can see just how much this lead from the Urgot is getting for giving value for this side of Raw right now. Feathers
TFF
eight
though
one
don't
and
just want
two.
to give this a free. Holy Islamic Samurai is able to get in. Efron taking that needlework ult, ripping through this Urgot. Shyvana ults the top side. Her Feathers trying his best, but it's shut down at the end. Echo prioritizing that wave, knowing they probably really can't get out here unless he plays through the enemy jungle and just trying to save. Maybe look for a pick on the back end if he can. Efron is really low. Sivir on the hunt, not available though to look for this chase onto him. And Silent K gets that last empowered E off to try to clear the wave. But now Pink's coming onto Baron. Stink Pickle looking on the Shyvana. Shyvana flashes out. And it looks like they're going to walk out with no more casualties after that. But you got to be careful here. One more misplay, and it's just like that. Islamic Samurai getting jumped again. Seraphine ult comes out, catches Sivir. Not a lot of follow-up, though. Sivir just choosing to flash out.
Yeah, and it seems I have caster cursed Feathers as he just immediately went down as soon as I started giving him some praise and saying that he was being an absolute menace for RAWR. But I mean, overall, I think both neither team gonna opt to get the Otacon. Both of them are pretty low with not a lot of cooldowns, and I imagine they're probably just gonna start setting up around this Otacon again in about a minute, or maybe just looking to find a pick before they look to take an objective fight.
Yeah, obviously, nerves have to be at 9 for TFF here. We see Silent just getting caught again, having to rip the Shyvana ult to get out to safety, just continuing to fall down. Is unironically actually been ahead of Gwen in farm, but the issue to think about that is how many other members of RAR are actually taking his camps. Sure, you're a little ahead of Gwen in pace of farm, but I guess you are a level on her as well. But the issue is all these other members on the side of RAR are just absorbing camps as well. That is one thing to be worried about leading up into these later fights.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mean, this Gwen is also just kind of outscaling the Shyvana. Yes, the Shyvana has more items and has more gold, but at what point does Gwen just kind of take over this game against the Shyvana? The Shyvana isn't exactly building super defensive. She's kind of a glass cannon right now, and as a result, can be pretty easy to for Gwen to kill, especially with that thousand cuts passive. And Shyvana and Aatrox, they don't really have a lot of resistances. They're just all HP. So this Gwen's probably getting a lot of value here.
Yeah, Efron trying to look for those chains on the Urgot top again. TFF trying to clear out this vision. Looks like Silent Cage might just found an angle on Swain, but doesn't want to commit, doesn't know where anyone's at. Efron taking the Swain ult, does get grabbed. If you're side of RAR here, I think you just need to relax for a second. See if you can bleed out this Swain ult and try to not fight with it. The
Yeah, I
other
mean
thing to keep
that's
track of, we talked a little bit earlier, heal cut is still not in this game.
yeah, I mean they really need to opt into getting this heal cut onto the Smolder or onto the Seraphine or even the Shyvana. Honestly, is pretty good target as well. But I mean they have so much healing for RAR. I mean you feel like they're going to have to. As looks like.
Over the Seraphine Encore comes out. Rome immediately blows up Nacho, Adrian, and Swain ult, but so does Silas. So, Swain is dropping low. The executes are live. Stink Pickle does get the jump onto Chrome, but Chrome trades out a lot of damage. Moist immediately blown up. Feathers trying to play out. The Aatrox flash forward. But Efron just burning with that Swain ult, flashes in, gets traded out, but Silent K is able to also trade. Is Islamic Samurai just trying to stand and fight with this Echo K playing for that wave as he's already pretty chunked, but this Aatrox is very tanky with that Sundered Sky Sterix combo. So at a 3 for 4 to the side of TFF after all is said and done, Elder is available, Baron is available. This next big fight could be a swing of the game to really see who's going to take priority and control.
Yeah, I mean for sure. As I mean, we see We see that all 3 jungle objectives are on the map, but I imagine both teams are going to prioritize that Elder just for that insanely powerful execute. And I think just both teams are going to start prepping for a Elder fight. I think this fight is going to decide the ending of this game. This game is starting to get to go pretty late, and I think it's going to be pretty difficult for the other team to deal with. And I think also the Smolder
Aatrox
is
has a
fully
flank
stacked
here.
now.
They could try to get the pinch on this. No, we're letting them walk out. Okay. Could have killed him.
Yeah.
We're out there.
Yeah, I guess Aatrox just respecting the fog, not sure if Sivir has any friends. And especially in a game like this, that you do not want to make that one little mistake that's gonna cost you the game. And we're just gonna have to see how things pan out. I mean, both teams on playing on a knife's edge right now, and this team fight is gonna be very, very close, I imagine, depending on how teams play it.
Yeah, Echo possibly getting a good divergence here. Feathers on that off angle. I think Pickle did jump in, gets half HP. Mom and the Seraphine ult come out. Aatrox and Efron both diving in, both with regen ults. Efron has access to that Echo ult, burns it, but it is ignited. He's flashing forward onto Feathers. Feathers Sterix pops. Silas in that stasis gets the Kingslayer, but does get eventually gunned down. Aatrox not able to survive with that Kingslayer auto either, and a clean ace for the side of RAWR.
Yeah, I mean it is just so hard for them to cut through all of this healing. It felt like they actually got a pretty decent fight at the start, but they just weren't able to finish off these kills. I think just the sustain from that Ocean Soul, from the Gwen healing and the Swain healing, they weren't really able to get through these tankier members, and as a result, once that Smolder went down, they really just lost a lot of their damage. And looks like
Yeah, here RAWR probably playing for the double inhib and then pressuring Baron with this Elder buff now. Oh, we have heal cut, boys. We got it. We bought it.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some heal cut onto the Silas, but I can't help but feel like that heal cut needs to go on a member that can apply a bit more in an AoE, as Silas is pretty single target out of a champion and doesn't really apply it to the entire team unless he's just in the middle of them all. But yeah, 2 inhibs down. I mean, this just should be a free Baron for the side of RAR. And with those 2 super waves, it can be pretty difficult for them to deal with the Baron for the side of TFF. And you've got to wonder how are they going to be able to turn around the next fight in order to try to turn this game around and get that win in the series. And looks like my I think my co-caster may be having some internet issues, but it looks like RAR is going to be it looks like RAR is just kind of hovering around this Baron, just trying to look for
Yeah, the
something
one
here.
thing to keep track of here, Smolder is approaching 300 stacks on this. Obviously, the double super waves will suck to deal with, but he is going to have that true damage burn. TFF is looking, though, to try to catch a rotate, try to catch them back.
Yeah, for sure. And looks like we're not looking to make any hard play around Baron. I think my part of the stream has died, unfortunately. I think my co-caster is just having some connectivity issues, but looks like both teams kind of poshing. But I mean, this Elder is starting to run out, so you gotta wonder what plays is RAR gonna be looking to make. It looks like they're actually able to secure the Voracious Otacon, which means they're going to have that revive for the next 2.5 minutes, and now they're just going to look to go Baron. So I mean, this is a pretty tough spot for TFF. Having this Otacon this late in the game means that they don't have to deal with these heavy respawn timers if they do win the fight. Even if TFF wins the fight, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how if TFF is able to cut through their healing and cut through this team, and if they're able to win two fights back to back, even with these shortened respawn timers.
It's true, we do see that Smolder ult is ripped up. The Swain is in ult, but Efron does have access to that Swain ult, but is immediately popped. Aatrox not able to get any value. The Urgot getting popped low. The Sterix now just finally getting popped. Stink Pickle able to then get that. Moist King is on a killing spree, but the withdrawals starting to come out. Poodle not does not have the tools to get rid of Stink Pickle on him. Stink Pickle then also able to pick up the triple. And sorry for the slight interruption. My ISP hates me. But we are back. But by the end of this, it looks like RAWR is going to wrap up this game, wrap up the series, and is going to go into semifinals with a quick 3-0.
Yeah, I mean it was even though it was a 3-0, the series did feel very neck and neck for all of these games. I mean, these came down to those last couple of fights, and it just felt like RAR was able to pull out the win in those late to mid game slash late game team fights, and they were just able to secure a pretty decisive like mid game victories, and were able to close out the series. And I mean, overall, pretty solid play from them, and I'm very curious to see how they end up moving forward as they are approaching semifinals.
Yeah, obviously, this has been a pretty, even though the score line doesn't show it, it was a pretty neck and neck series in most of these games. I'd say game one was probably the most lopsided, but TFF had sparks of brilliance in numerous of these games, but just unable to really drag it out and to get opt in finishing some of these wins. Um, MVP of the series, Dira. I think we're gonna both say the same one because it looks pretty clear cut, but we'll ask it like it's a question anyways.
So, I mean, the obvious choice is going to be the a really good performance from Stink Pickle. But honestly, I do want to give also a mention to Feathers. I felt like Feathers played pretty well all three games and was pretty decisive. Even when he was in the worst part of the lane swap, he was going pretty even. And I think that stability is exactly what you need with your top laner on a team like this.
Yeah, Feather's definitely the weak side warrior. Definitely having a standout game in this game three. Um, Obviously we're gonna see RAR now go into semifinals, I believe. By the looks of it, I don't have an exactly updated standings for where we're at right now, but I know NLE Choppas and TD Blessed, last I knew, were tied at 1-1. Rivals did take the win over OSG Sub Zero 3-0. And then Plasma Wolves and the Bunny Brawlers was 1-2 to the side of Bunny Brawlers off our last update. So I think the Rivals also streamed their games. That VOD should be available. One of my producers is typing at me right now, so I'm going to get yelled at if I'm wrong. It is what it is. Up.
Yeah,
Never mind. I was right. Let's go.
yeah. So the result of the Bunny Brawler Paws and Plasma Wolves is going to be the opponent for RAR in the semifinals. So that's going to be very interesting to see. I know that Brawler Paws has been pretty hyped up, I feel like, in Sentinel. But I mean, Plasma Wolves did take a game, so that series could go either way. But it'll be interesting to see who's going to look to take on this RAR team and who's going to find an answer to their play style, because it seems like TFF wasn't able to figure that out in their series tonight.
That is right along with it. But with that, do you have any closing remarks for the stream tonight, Dara?
No, just thanks for having me. I know I kind of stepped in mid series, but it's been really fun casting with you, and thank you for LXC for hosting the stream.
Well, always glad to have you here, Ted. Don't get to see you at home very much anymore. At least that's what I like to bully you with. But from everyone here at the LXC and from us here on the stream, glad you guys can tune in and watch. Obviously, we couldn't take it to a game 5 banger because some people appreciate my sleep schedule. I appreciate you. But at the end of the day, I thank y'all for tuning in and can't wait to see y'all come and tune in for Crusader tomorrow. I'm not sure which matchups streamed because I know it got changed. Maybe Vishkar can do a quick update for me. She isn't typing, who knows? But come watch anyways, it'll be a fun game. But good luck to all the rest of the Sentinel teams. I look forward to hopefully being able to cast more of your playoff games coming up. But that should do us for the rest of the night, and I hope everyone else has a good night.
Have a good one, guys.